Hopefully, we'll see what people say in the chat room. Guys, this is extremely technical what we're doing here. We're trying to stream on 2 channels at once. We believe we worked out most of the kinks for this. So hopefully we're live. Hopefully there's some visuals. I'm seeing it on the stream on my end.
So it should be going to mine as well, right?
Should be, but I'm not able to see your stream yet. I mean, I'm not actually looking at your stream, to be honest with you. So if you could tell me if you're doing okay.
I don't think I'm live yet, but
I see that. I see that there's 9 people on yours and 10 on mine, so it looks like you're up.
I'm live.
All right, good.
But okay. So I have to redo my description.
Oh, your description. Okay, you want to fix it?
Yeah, one sec. And then we should give each other's chats.
Okay. Well, I'm actually looking at the. Oh, that's right. Okay, how do I do that? Let me see here. Top chat. Pop out chat. And then I'll. Now the only problem is to send you this link. Hang on, let me. Oh no, we're good. I'm not. I don't want to accidentally show any information that we. Give me a second. Let me. Whoa, you're doing some weird motion. You're doing like max headroom stuff. You look like a robot.
That's not good.
Yeah, we don't want that. I don't know if it's showing up in the stream like that, or if it's just. Hey, does he look like a robot when he was doing that right now? There was like you were like your face was fluttering weirdly. Yeah, sorry guys. This isn't going to be super smooth because this is a highly technical thing. We both stream all the time, but we never stream together like this. Oh, there it is again. There it is. There it is again. Hey, I'm going to wait for it to show up on the stream. Whoa.
What? Okay, I'm watching my own stream, so.
It looks good. It might just be what I'm seeing. Like what I'm seeing is like, you're doing like this. It's so weird. All right, good. All right, well, hang on one second while let me figure out how to send this to you without.
And then I'm gonna send you the link to my chat. So if you open this up in a new tab or something, you should be able to see it. And then.
All right. Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll send it. Oh, shoot. I'm worried about showing your screen, so give me a second. Let me find out where OBS is, and I'll hide you for a second just to make sure I don't accidentally show something, like your password or whatever you sent me earlier. Where's OBS? Okay. I'm going to hide you for a second.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not censoring you, I promise. Okay. And then I'm going to post this here. All right. But I think though in my chat I can see both, for the record. If you're from Matt's stream, can you post something in his chat and say I'm on Matt's stream? I do agree Matt's eyes are beautiful though.
Thank you.
Got big horse eyes. That's actually that's a compliment. All right, I think.
Okay, I can see both chats now.
Okay, good
for me. I don't know about you.
All right, yeah, I see everyone's chats, so we're good. All right, boom. Oops, I got to put this up here and put you back on. There we go. Everyone was crying because your eyes weren't on the screen anymore. Bambi eyes.
How many viewers do you have?
Bambi eyes.
Right now?
89. You're gonna have more than me. You got way. I'm a dying channel. I only have 2%, 1 to 2% people watch my streams. It's really sad.
Well, hopefully we can.
I'm a dying channel, man. Old man out, new man in.
Actions today.
All right. So, okay. Self-introduction. I'm George Trombley, and I made a video the other day called can't even speak English. Pitch accent is stupid, changed my mind. And then Matt made a response called George is wrong. Mm-hmm. And the summary of my entire argument was basically pitch accent is stupid, which is what I said, which I came out a little bit strong, I would say. But the idea was, for me personally, at that very moment, I thought it's too much for a beginner and it's too complicated. We'll see how I feel today after this debate. I'll let Matt introduce himself, and then I'll set up how we're gonna make this go. That me and Matt have already agreed to. So go ahead, Matt.
Cool. And by the way, I should say before we actually jump into it, we should probably just give a couple more minutes for people to join since we didn't start like right on time. We told people it was gonna start at 6.
True.
And so, but with that said, yeah, I'm Matt. For any of you guys who don't know me, like George said, I'm amazing at Japanese. My pitch is flawless. George messaged me all the time how he's really jealous of me, but I forgot. I'm not supposed to say that out loud. No, I'm just kidding.
Just said what you're thinking, man.
No. So, thanks for the people who complimented my haircut. I just got a haircut like a couple hours ago, so it's very fresh. I'm all over the place. What am I supposed to be doing right now? Self-introduction? Yeah, I'm Matt. I speak Japanese. I think pitch accent is pretty important, and I think that all Japanese learners who are even remotely serious about learning the Japanese language should expose themselves to some pitch accent study to at least some degree. And by the way, I don't have flawless pitch accent, by the way. That was a joke. Please don't hold me to that.
He's very humble, for the record. Very humble man.
Yeah, I mean, probably the most humble out of all the Japanese content creators on YouTube.
That's what they say. That's what they say.
All right. So today, basically the concept is pitch accent. Now, what I'm going to do is I have studied pitch accent since the last time that we've talked. I've created a PowerPoint that shows my understanding of pitch accent. I'm going to show it to Matt, who has never seen what I came up with. I'm calling it pitch accent from zero, as if I was writing it from my own perspective. I'm writing it as if I'm coming into it very neutral, thinking, okay, I have to teach pitch accent. How do I teach it? So I did some research on it, learned about it. Now Matt's going to point out any flaws as we go along. I would ask that, unless it's a major flaw, we just let me flow through it so we can get to the main debate part. Yeah. All right, so here is.
And by the way, before we get started, I just want to say, if you guys get interested in pitch accent after watching any of this debate, please sign up to my free email newsletter at mattversusjapan.com. Link is in the description.
It's in my description too.
I'm going to be sending out some pitch accent tips in the future. Also, check out Dogen's pitch accent course, and also buy Japanese from Zero. It's not going to teach you pitch accent, but it'll teach you some other stuff.
No, in our books we teach you Japanese, not pitch accent. Okay, so that being said, one of the criticisms that I had, I've been reading the comments, and I think one of the bigger criticisms, it seems like most people across the board said, hey, I think pitch accent is important, but I'll learn it later. I think that was a common thing. Then there was this side that said, you absolutely need pitch accent. George had all those mistakes. If he had 8 mistakes in 30 seconds, imagine how many mistakes he makes in his pitch accents. I'm referring to the pitch accent analysis that you did for me in your video. And then there was the side that, of course, said pitch accent was dumb, like I did, but very rare do people say that. Most people seem to think it's important to learn eventually, okay? Now, we'll talk a little bit about that after, if that's okay, because there are some comments that we probably should talk about on both channels. And Masa on your channel is a complete piece of he's not a nice guy. He's been very mean. I think he was the guy saying burn my books earlier. I want to point that out.
Is he in the chat right now?
Well, you don't have to ban him. You don't have to ban him or anything like that. But I think he was the guy. There was some guy the other day. I want to request that we all be kind to each other, and that we know that this is, if you think about what's happening right now, 2 guys that absolutely love Japanese are trying to give you information, and there is no right or wrong. There's never right or wrong. I'm sure that if any of you know who I am, I said in my very first video on Japanese from Zero video series, use other sources, and Matt is one of those other sources. And I also am very commonly saying, hey, don't listen to any advice that I say, including this advice right now. Take whatever advice you want. If you get something today from what Matt says or from what I say, take it. If you think what I said is dumb, or even a portion of that is, or what Matt says is dumb, don't hate him. Just ignore that part of the message. Matt has a lot of things that I've learned from him. Okay. All right, let's do it. Before we talk.
By the way, real quick,
yes.
Giant shout out to Will for the giant donation every time. Tebido Will, you're the best man.
Yeah. By the way, when you do super chats, it goes to me too. We split it. I'm just kidding. All right, moving on. That was a joke. All right, here is a PowerPoint. This is what I have done to prepare for this. Is I learned what pitch accent was, and then I wrote it as if I was writing pitch accent from Zero book. It's a rough draft, first draft. Here we go. I'm going to read it section by section. It'll be a little bit tedious, but we'll get through it. Okay. Let's see if we can get through this here. All right, pitch accent from Zero. Pitch accent is how a sound is accentuated when speaking a word. It should not be confused with stress accent, which is saying a word louder, as is common in English. When speaking in English, the speaker's intent can change based on the location of a stressed word in any particular sentence. In Japanese, instead of particles are used to emphasize. A pitch can be either high, where the pitch is raised, or low, where the pitch is lowered. Due to Japanese having a limited range of sounds, considerably a large amount of words have the same sounds. While some words with the same sounds will have the same exact pitch pattern, others will be different. Anything wrong so far?
There's some stuff I could nitpick.
Well, let's not nitpick. I mean, am I wrong with anything so far? If this was a pitch accent from Zero book, you know what? I've got like 4 more sections, so let me just continue. Unlike Mandarin Chinese, which has 4 tones and 1 neutral tone, Japanese is not tonal. Furthermore, the pitch accent for Japanese is not uniform throughout the multitude of Japanese dialects. Therefore, when a student of Japanese dedicates themselves to learning proper pitch accent, they must first decide which reason they will base their study on. In Standard Japanese, which is based on the dialect spoken in the Minami Kanto area, which includes Tokyo, Chiba, Kanagawa, and a portion of Saitama and Ibaragi, there are 4 primary accent types. These accents are applied to each mora of a Japanese word. A mora, called haku in Japanese, did I get the pitch accent right on that? I don't know. Is a rhythm, is the rhythm of how a word is said. Okay. In Japanese, each character can be considered a mora that a pitch accent is applied to. It's important to note that a mora is not being applied to a syllable, but to each individual Japanese sound unit, hiragana or katakana. Double vowels in Japanese, words lengthened with the sounds a, I, U, E, O, despite being just 1 syllable, are actually 2 moras. This means that the first and second character making up the double vowel can have different pitch accent. Or in simple terms, the characters making up the syllable can be any variety of high or low pitch. For double consonants, which are made by placing a small tsu, or tsu in katakana, in front of certain sounds, the tsu is silent in the word, so it will have no pitch accent applied to it. However, any preceding or following sounds will. In Standard Japanese, that port got copied over, sorry. And I found a pitch accent dictionary, by the way, in case you didn't know where that was. It's kind of a limited one, and I made a shortened URL with this right here. So if any of you guys want to see this particular dictionary, you can go to this learnfz.com/PA, and it'll take you there. And when you search for a word, it looks like, I believe it's only got word lists from a variety of textbooks and not like a full dictionary. But when you look up a word, they don't do the circles for up and down. They have 2 different symbols where they'll have a line over it if it's high, and a line with a small line going down if it's high followed by a low. So you'll see that immediately when you see it. It's a little bit different than the way that Matt and Dogen seem to represent it. All right. So the next thing, that's my basic understanding. I'm going to show you now the 4 types of pitch accent patterns, okay? So the first one is called atama daka gata. Now, I know a lot of times when you guys explain it, you say atama daka without the gata, but it seems like most Japanese sources like to say gata. And that's because this is called kifukushiki, which means an up and down pattern. So there's 3 up and down patterns and 1 what's called a hiraitashiki, which is a flat board pattern, literally, or flat pattern. We're going to just look at those 4. There might be more. I'm only aware of these 4 currently right now. So this is head high. The word starts high, then drops on the second mora and levels out. That's my understanding of that. And these are some examples of that. I don't know when I made this graphic, I left this little half line here because the original source that I was looking at had this half line. And I think it might be important to what follows, but I'm not exactly sure, for the record. So
yeah,
Matt,
just this is like a kind of an important point. It doesn't drop on the second mora. It drops between the first and second mora.
Okay, can you say these words properly then for us?
Yeah, aki, sangatsu, bungaku.
Okay. All right, so that's head high, atama daka gata. Next one is naka daka gata, which you might guess means in the middle because it's got that kanji for the middle. This starts low with a high accent, excuse my English, with a high accent in the middle, ending low, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and this is also an up and down pattern.
Should I read them?
Oh yeah, please. I'm sorry. I just assumed. I'm so used to going automatically. Go ahead.
Feels. I'm not equivalent to a native speaker, but I'll do my best.
But you are more of an expert than me on this, so.
On pitch accent, probably, yeah. Okashi, yukiguni, nomimono.
All right, we probably should say what these words means too. So, aki means fall, sangatsu means February, bungaku means literature.
March.
What did I say? February? My bad.
Yeah.
March. That was a great mistake to make on a stream talking about Japanese. Sorry, my bad. And okashi is snacks. Yukiguni is
a country where there's a lot of snow, or
yes,
an area where
snow,
there's a lot
snow
of snow.
country. Nomimono is drinks. All right. And Sangatsu is definitely not February. Okay. And then the next one is Odakagata, which is, it's not tail high, but since the kanji's for tail, I went ahead and just called it tail high. So it's end high, basically. The first mora or more are low with a final one or more moras high. I think that's what that meant. It doesn't just mean that the final mora is high, because it looks like some of them, if I look at the example, some of them are more than one high. It just has to start low with one or more. Okay.
No, the final one will always be high.
Yes, of course. Now I'm showing you this kareshi one because there is a phenomenon in Japan happening right now. It's called hiraitaka or heibanka. I'm not sure exactly how to read it.
Heibanka.
Yeah, so heibanka is happening where some words that were one way, for example, it should be kareshi, but it's actually, they're saying it more recently, young people are saying kareshi. I don't know if I said that right.
Yeah, kareshi. But that's actually heiban, not odaka.
I know. I'm showing you both versions. So
yeah, but neither of those are odaka.
Okay, so you're saying that the first kareshi then is heiban.
Heiban.
Yeah, and this does lead to where I have my most confusing understanding of how this works. Weirdly, I think the source that I was looking at, which was a Japanese source, was saying that that this was an odaka because that's where I was looking for examples. It doesn't matter. My main point was that first of all, is it hiraita or heiban? Because I've seen both. Heiban, okay.
I've heard it heiban in the majority of
I
places.
was writing it as heiban the whole time, and then I saw a Japanese source call it hiraita, which really confused me, to be honest with you. But I went with that version because it was Japanese. All right, so anyway, heibanka is the, we'll talk about that in a second. So this is probably heibangata, not hiraitagata. I'm not exactly sure. And this is the only flat style. So it starts low from the one or first mora. I've seen conflicting information on this. The Japanese information that I found says that the first mora is low, followed by the second mora being high. But I'm in a couple other sources that I saw which were written in English. I don't know if that means that they were an American source or a Japanese source written in English, said that the first one or two moras start low and then go high.
No, the first will be low and the next and second onward will be high.
Okay, so there's no chance of two moras being low.
Not in standard Japanese.
Okay. And then apparently,
and also I just looked it up.
Okay.
Hiraita literally just means flat, like a flat board,
yeah.
like a piece of wood.
Yeah.
And so when in the context of accent in particular, it's always heiban.
All right. So that's so everyone remember that it's heiban, not hiraita. The funny thing is I had heiban the whole time, and I went back and changed it because okay, flat board, fine, whatever. Okay, so flat until the end. Now this is what's confusing. If you look at these, the graphics slightly different here. They look exactly to me like Odakagata, but it seems that it depends. What makes it Heibangata is that it comes with what happens to the particle after it.
Exactly.
I think that's the case.
So this is probably the trickiest part about pitch accent is the difference between Odaka and Heiban. So actually, when you pronounce words from either of these two categories in isolation, they sound exactly the same. So, like for example, if we were going to take hashi meaning bridge and hashi meaning edge, so not hashi meaning chopstick, these two sound identical in isolation. Or sorry, a better example is probably nose versus flower. Hana. In isolation, they actually sound exactly the same. They become different when a particle attaches. So for Odaka, the particle attaches low, and for Heiban, the particle attaches high. So if it's
is that universal? Heiban always attaches high, and Odaka always attaches low. Is that a universal rule?
Yeah. Well, that is the distinction between the two.
Okay, so they're both Odaka. But there's Odaka high and Odaka low is probably what I would think about it mentally. Is that a way to think about it that works?
Well, I mean, I would think about it as you could think about it that way.
Now in the examples that I found, they always use ga, but is that the same if I'm using mo or made or some other thing?
Or des, yeah, it's all the same.
Okay, so
and anything that's directly modifying it.
What do you mean? Normally, directly modifying is normally comes before.
Sorry. Maybe it's not the grammatical.
That's okay.
term.
I had that February issue, so we're fine. Now we're even.
Yeah. Well, what I mean by that is that if I said, for example, like 明日学校に行く, 明日 is technically Odaka. So if I said 明日です or 明日が, it would be the ga would attach low or the des would attach low. But if I say 明日学校に行く, there's nothing attaching to the 明日, right?
All right, let me
It's
say
kinda
something in
floating there.
Japanese just for a second. So, 明日がいいですか?
So that would be wrong. It would be
That's
明日
wrong.
がいいですか?
It's 明日がいいですか?
Yeah, 明日
明日がいい
がいいですか?
ですか? Like that?
明日がいいですか?
明日がいいですか? 明日
Yeah, that was good.
And what did I say?
You said 明日がいいですか?
Wow. They probably never understood anything I ever said. Man.
Obviously
Okay.
not. But
I mean, surprised I survived this long. Okay, so 明日, oh my God. One thing I noticed, like Mike, who lives here temporarily, he's staying in the guest room. His accent's really good, right? I'm always really impressed with his accent. He's a musician, so he's really good at emulating. When I started explaining to him this, and I showed him this chart, and then he started trying to do it, his accent went to complete crap. Like it was just, he was like, he went like he was overthinking it so hard that he couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's a temporary phase.
All right.
If you get over that very quickly and it improves your Japanese. It's
Okay.
like, of course, at the very beginning, it's brand new. You're overthinking it. It's kind of awkward. And then you integrate it and it clicks and then you're better.
So let me ask you a question.
Let me phrase one more thing differently. So
Yes,
I would
sir.
say that when I listen to your Japanese, for the most part, you're already using the 4 different pitch accent patterns.
Of course I am.
You don't say anything that doesn't exist in Japanese. You're not making up new patterns. The problem is you're using the wrong patterns with the wrong words. So what you could say is the patterns are already inside of you. You're just mixing them up.
It's already inside of me.
So when you start paying attention to pitch accent, you're going to have this moment where it clicks and you're like, oh, I already know these patterns. I just didn't identify them. I didn't realize that I had to match up certain words with certain patterns. I thought I could just use them willy-nilly. And once that happens, then you'll
Well, to
instantly
be
sound
honest,
better because
I never thought. Let me say something. I never thought, oh, I can use them willy nilly. I've never been aware of them.
Subconsciously, you thought that. Yeah, not consciously, but subconsciously, that is.
I would say it would be
basically
more
what
accurate to say I
doing.
never thought about it. And
Not
the most
consciously,
the
but
most I've ever thought
subconsciously.
about it was in the last week when I'm thinking about it
I
constantly.
don't know, but I mean, what I'm saying is, whenever you speak Japanese, so we say there are these 4 pitch patterns. So there's a very limited number of patterns that exist in standard Japanese, right? And when you speak Japanese, even though you've never consciously thought about it, you almost never say something that is outside of one of these 4 patterns. So some part of your mind picked up on there are 4 patterns, right? Subconsciously, you just absorbed it through all your exposure to Japanese, and you imitate it naturally. The thing that your brain didn't pick up naturally is that the patterns can't be used with any word. You have to have certain patterns matching with certain words.
So one thing that bothered me, first of all, when I was doing this research, is this is super complicated. Every research that I did here, I did not rely on any sources from you or Dogen, for the record. I did these all searching on my own. So one thing that I noticed was that this is the simplest I've ever seen it, this breakdown that I gave right here, for me personally, in all the things that I showed. If you look at this list, it's just like one line explains what it is, and it's much easier to process, and it's an English example. It makes a lot of sense to me. When I first saw kifukushiki, I literally thought there was Atamadaka-shiki, there was a kifukushiki version. The first rough draft of this was like, we'll talk about kifukushiki later, when I figure it out, because I didn't know what it was. Turns out that's just what they mean. If it goes up or down, it's kifukushiki. And if it's not going to go up or down, it's heibanshiki. But why even, it's so weird to me that they even called it heibanshiki when they have heiban. There's only one type in the heibanshiki and it's heibangata, so why even distinguish it? But either way.
The reason for distinguishing that has to do with some of the more advanced rules. Because, that's
the problem. When I was researching it, so many exclusions came up and even people. There's a place called the ODAGJ or something like that.
Yeah.
So even I looked at his PDF and I read through it, and it's like, okay, in isolation words do this, but then not only do you have to remember isolation words, now you have to understand how it works in a sentence. So for me, I was overwhelmed, and I'm the great George Trombley, and I was overwhelmed. Now maybe I won't be overwhelmed if I studied it for a while, which you would think, if I cared about it yeah, that would probably be the case. But I'm sitting here thinking, I don't want to learn this because it's never been a problem for me, ever. I've never, ever, ever had anyone say, oh, your Japanese is good, but man, you know, and by the way, I don't have casual relationships with Japanese people. I'm not a foreigner on a trip in Japan, just meeting the lady like Shiyama does, right? When he goes and he does his things, or when you're going to, I'm not that level of Japanese. I have friends for 20, 30 years, right? That we don't have to use san on the end of our name. We know each other. These people we've never had a conversation. You know, I'll get a word wrong every now and then, but there's never been an honest moment where they're like, yeah, your pitch accent's wrong.
Well,
and
I
don't know how to deal
really
with that.
well, then in their mind, you probably speak George Ben. You know, you speak the George dialect, and they're already so used to that I mean, to people who know you really well, they probably feel like it doesn't even feel like a mistake to them anymore because they just accept that that's the way you speak. Like, I think it's the same way with my girlfriend. She's heard me speak for so many hours that she hardly notices my mistake, because it's just like when you're listening to a British person speak, right? They speak very differently from you, but you wouldn't say that it's a mistake. It's just different. So after a while, at the beginning, when someone first probably talks to you, they might notice, oh yeah, there's all this stuff that is off.
No, let me say something. My wife, when I first met my wife, she did say, now this is I've been married 25 years now, okay? So when I first met her and when we got married, she said this thing to me. She said, your Japanese is good, but it's not great. And I said, well, what's wrong with it? She said, you need to know more jukugo. That's it. It was, I need to know more compound words.
So, I mean, I would take that with a grain of salt, because in my experience, natives have really strong intuition. A lot of natives aren't really good at consciously articulating or consciously understanding what their intuition is telling them. Sometimes their intuition is telling them something's off. But when they say what exactly is off, they can't pinpoint it. Sometimes they make something up that's actually
You realize
not
this is my
true.
wife, right? And we wrote Japanese from zero together. We think about Japanese all the time. So
Jukugo? What do you mean you don't know Jukugo? Japanese people, like,
25 years ago, okay, for example, I might say tsuki no hikari instead of gekko. There might be a word that
Who
could
says
be
gekko in a conversation?
I was giving you an example of a jukugo because I don't think, for some reason, it seemed like you didn't understand what jukugo was. It means using two or more kanji in a word. I know. Instead of doing that, I say. What do you mean people don't do that?
No. In daily conversation, it's not that common to use the jukugo version in writing. Yeah, but
I don't think you understand the extent 25 years ago of how much I probably wasn't using jukugo.
Okay, well, I
can't think of any examples that far back, but like, for example, sanpatsuya, maybe I might say kami o kiru tokoro, instead of saying sanpatsuya, or, you know what I mean? I would
instead of saying Nihongo, you're like hinomoto no.
I wouldn't say that. I would say Nihon no Gengo. I wouldn't say that either. But like one of my skills is when I don't know a word, I can walk around it by explaining it. So I did a lot of that earlier on. Okay. And I still do it now. It's just a skill that I have. If I don't know a word, I don't need to know the word because I can say it in a way that they'll understand it. Yeah. It's a skill everyone needs to get.
I still think that you're not going to be able to really objectively know how big of a difference pitch accent makes until you can hear it yourself, and then you can really be the judge. Otherwise, like, you're basically someone who is like blind, and you've never seen yourself because you can't see, and you're like, everyone in my life tells me I'm beautiful. I must be beautiful. When you don't really know, right? And maybe you are beautiful, but you're never going to know until
you think that there are not degrees of beautiful, and also beauty is in the eye of the beholder?
Of course there are. But what I'm saying is not. So the other thing that I really want to make clear is that your Japanese is really good.
Why does it need to be better?
It could be.
But why does it need to be better?
But let me tell you. But let me say this: if you could pay $20 right now and have your Japanese pronunciation just be like 10% better, would you not pay it?
I would if it was instantaneous, but if it's going to take a lot of time, which this will take, and a lot of effort, I will not do it. I'm already stressed out by the study that I did up till this point. Like, it's already stressing me out. One of the reasons that, and I know we're trying to keep this light, but when I made that video, what you guys saw was a cut. Okay, my pitch accent is stupid video was a cut. I had just watched a Dogen video on his 10 minutes to explain pitch accent, and I was angry. I was mad. I mean, I'm more emotional. I think I don't know if you are like this, but I get emotional, and I'm like, why are they doing this? Why are they making it so complicated? And No offense to Doge, because he seems like a really nice guy. And I watched the live stream yesterday, and I think his Japanese is phenomenal. Much better than that video. Because when I watched that video and he was like going, he was so nasal, and he does a lot of nga instead of ga, which is legit Japanese. There's also that version, but it was too ugly for me. And I'm like, this guy who doesn't have I'm just trying to explain my rationale for why I said it was stupid. This guy that is supposed to be the champion of perfect Japanese, even though he doesn't have videos saying perfect Japanese, and he's humble. I understand that. At that moment, that was all I knew. I was like, this guy. So I was doing a live stream where I was working on book. I do book work on my other stream. And I was like, I just watched these videos earlier and I'm so mad because pitch accent is so stupid. So I want to know that's where it came from. I'm not feeling like that now. Okay. I understand there's validity, and I saw a ton of websites talking about pitch accent, and it is a discussion among Japanese people. I wasn't aware of it. Most of the Japanese sites that I saw talk about NHK. They talk about, and it's way complicated. That's what my overall impression is, why is this so complicated?
Well, so I think I would want to take a step back and talk about how there's different ways of approaching pitch accent, and there's different degrees to which you can explore it and try to master it.
All right.
So I think, actually, I'm thinking about making a video in the future talking about how I recommend going about pitch accent, and the way I'm going to frame the video is I'm going to say there's 3 different levels in which you can incorporate pitch accent into your studies, depending on how important it is to you to have a native sounding accent.
Okay.
So level 1 would be, it's not that important to you. And in that case, I'd say maybe you want to spend 30 minutes to 60 hours total in your life worrying about pitch accent. And we can talk about
30
whether
minutes
that's
to 60 hours if you don't care?
Sorry. 30 to 60 minutes. My bad.
God damn.
Totally misspoke. Yeah, big range there. Sorry.
Oh my God.
30 to 60 minutes lifetime studying pitch accent. We can talk about whether that has value or not, because I think some people might their first response would be, is there any points in that at all? So, and then level 2 would be maybe you're putting significantly more
when
work.
when did they do that, Matt? At what point?
So in level
studying?
1, so I would say that initial 30 to 60 minutes, you would do that first thing when you're
before you
learning
learn
Japanese. No, after that.
Okay, so but what point after you know nani
Like
ga suki
after
desu
you
ka?
learned kana.
After you know the
learning,
kana.
like right after learning kana. You could
Okay,
say.
so for the people in Japanese from Zero books, you would say after you get through book 2, start looking at some pitch accent.
Just the basics, and I can talk about this level of basics I'm talking about. I could explain to you. I could give you a summarized version in like 5 minutes.
Okay.
And I think that this 5 minutes worth of information would have a big effect later on, because you plant a seed, your brain starts to notice things more, right? When you're just told that something exists, and so then I think that could lead to you pick up on more,
Does it plant a seed that helps some people and hurts others?
Yeah. I don't think it would hurt that many people at this level, because it's so basic. But because basically what to kind of take another step back and frame this. So like I said, you picked up a lot of pitch accent. Like, first of all, when you watch your video, even the one I nitpicked, you get more right than you get wrong, right? Like maybe like on 50% of sentences, you make 1 or 2 mistakes. You have sentences where the whole thing is correct, right? And you have other sentences
that that's right according to Minami Kanto dialect. Perfect.
Yeah, but that's the
accent.
dialect of Japanese that you speak.
Ah, yes. Did you see that? This is one of my questions. Actually, I want to get to these questions in a second. I want to address something that you were going to bring up that we talked about after the stream last time. That we talked off site was, you said, which was a very valid point, and I thought, wow, I probably am wrong on this because of this statement. When I say that the pitch accent's different for hana and hana, right? It's flipped in Kansai and it's flipped in other areas. So why does it matter if it's flipped? Your response to that was, well, you shouldn't have a Kansai dialect pitch accent when you're speaking Hyojungo, which is based on Minami Kanto, right? Which was a super valid point until that comment by I don't know if you saw that. There's an amazing comment by a Japanese person who seems to know pitch accent. And I want to address that in a second, but I don't know where I was going. I want to make sure that you get back to your point where if you only care a little bit about pitch accent, then you spend 30 to 60 minutes and that's level 1. Why don't you, I'll let you finish up.
We can definitely explore the dialect topic.
I don't want to railroad, so I want to, because I have like 7 questions I want to make sure I get through.
So 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 what I was saying is you have acquired a lot of standard Japanese pitch accent. And so and that's just through getting a lot of input, right? So I think if like someone would have sat you down towards the beginning of your studies and just explained to you the basics of pitch accent, you probably just and then you never thought about it again consciously, you probably would have picked up more than you did just because that seed was planted. And you're going to naturally notice it more, and you naturally, when you try to imitate, you're going to hone in on it a little more.
I do agree with this. I definitely, there's no way knowing what I know now that I will not, that I'll ever ignore it again. I'll definitely be thinking about it and maybe trying to tune into it a little bit more, because it's something that I never tune into. Because again, it hasn't been, it literally until people like Dogen and you started talking about, did I ever even realize it existed? That's how. Now, it might be that in the future of teaching Japanese, everyone addresses it. It might be because the way the internet shares, information, that it's going to change how learning is, and that people in 50 years will have if people are learning Japanese in 50 years, let's assume that they were, that maybe pitch accent would be a module in every single book. It's totally possible.
Yeah. So exactly. So I think, like you said, you're tuning now, knowing what you know, you're naturally going to tune into it a little more. And it's going to be hard to go back to the state you were in before of like it not being on your radar at all. And so
no, I agree. I definitely won't forget that I know it. Yeah.
And so now you're worried. Oh, pitch act. So right now I would say you understand the basics.
What you just said, by the way, is the key problem. Say it again. You're worried, and I know I'm cutting you off a little bit, but you said something in your live stream the other day that I think is the biggest problem with pitch accent, and you are. Okay, I am the great George Trombley. You are the great Matt versus Japan in terms of pitch accent. So you are what you and Dogen I consider top of the field, okay? Because you're the only people I know in the field. So I don't know how Katsumoto does it or whatnot, but you guys are the top in the field, right? So you said in your live stream, which I just caught a part of it, he's like, there was one day when I didn't know the pitch accent of a word, and then I just didn't say it. And I was just worried because I didn't want to get it wrong, and I wanted it to be perfect. And I'm like, that's the problem with pitch accent, because if you're constantly second guessing something that you know the word doko, whatever it is, whatever that word is, and you don't say it, you literally lose out on communication. If you get it wrong, that is the communication, right?
I disagree with that, because
so you shouldn't say a word if it's not perfect.
No. That is not what I meant to say at all.
Okay, what did you say?
I don't actually. What I meant to say was, because I have knowledge of pitch accent, I know what I don't know.
Okay.
Whereas someone who never studied pitch accent, they don't know what they don't know, right? So they when they say a word, they have no way to know, is this going to be right or wrong? For me, I know what I don't know, so that gives me a choice. I can say it anyway, which sometimes I choose to do. Like, especially when I'm talking to my girlfriend, for example. She knows exactly how good I am at Japanese. I don't need to impress her. So I prioritize communication over sounding perfect when I'm talking to her. So I will say words when I don't know, even though I know this pitch is probably wrong or this might be wrong. But in other situations, when maybe I meet a Japanese person for the first time and I want to give the best first impression possible, in that particular case, I might, like, you said you know how to scoot around what you don't know and explain a word. Well, I can easily, if there's a word and I don't know the pitch accent, I can easily replace it with a word or an expression that I do know the pitch accent of, and I can and then sound perfect. So it gives me the choice. I can communicate and sound not perfect, or if I need to, I can sound perfect. So I can do. My options have only increased. I didn't lose anything. I only gained.
See, for me, when I'm in that mode of, okay, I'm meeting a person that I want to impress, my Japanese accent is what it is. Okay, my Japanese accent is, I would say, great. Okay, I'm not trying to be Donald Trump here, but I don't think it's bad. I've heard bad. I've been teaching Japanese now for 20 years. I know a bad accent when I hear it.
Fair.
Level 1 is suck. Konnichiwa, watashi no namae wa. That's level 1, right? I'm nowhere near level 1, especially when I'm speaking fast, right? But when I want to impress a person, I change the content of what I'm saying, not how I say it. I say bigger things. I think a little bit more about what I'm going to say. I don't go, yeah, man. In English, I wouldn't go, yeah, man. I go, yeah, I agree with you there, sir. I would change what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do that too. I do that. Okay. I do that as well. And being confident that I'm pronouncing things correctly is part of that.
Right. Well, it's interesting to me that I've never worried about that. That's never been a worry that I have to skirt around. Like, oh my gosh, how do I pitch accent this word out of the 70,000 words that I probably know? It might be more than that. They say.
I don't know, but like I'm saying, I can go into that mode if I want to. If I want to go into, I don't care about accuracy mode. I just want to prioritize expressing myself mode. I can go into that, and I do when I'm talking to my girlfriend. But I have another mode I can choose to go into, which is sound almost perfect mode.
All right, let me ask you this. Because if I was going to teach pitched accent, this is how I would do it. I'd come up with the most common. So are there most common, like I noticed verbs tend to be odaka in their informal state. Or theoretically, heibang. Theoretically. It seems like iku, right? I noticed that.
This is actually, you were talking about why did they introduce the idea of fukushiki or fukushiki? Isn't that just complicating things? The reason why is because there's many things in pitch accent that are a binary. So, when we're talking about basic words like nouns, for example, there's 4 patterns, right? But for certain things in Japanese, like e-adjectives or verbs, there's only 2 patterns. It's a binary. And when that is a binary, it's either heiban or kifukushiki. So verbs are an example. Verbs are either heiban, meaning they're flat, or they drop on the second to last syllable, or after the second to last syllable. So iku is heiban, asobu.
When you say drop after the last syllable, you mean they're high on their actual syllable and they drop in the next syllable following? Or are they dropping in the same mora?
Well, drops happen between moras, not during a mora.
Okay, I'll have to get that in my brain. So iku.
So that's heiban.
Okay, heiban. That's
so
heiban. Why? That doesn't sound flat to me, but okay. Because flat to me would be iku, not iku. So all verbs have a high pitch on the end. You're saying that those are not.
So basically, pitch accent is all about where the drop is. So uprises are kind of a separate story. So basically,
so that's an uprise.
Whenever an uprise is okay. So it's more confusing when you have 2-syllable words. So let's take a word.
Well, like, I would like to work with that, but I actually want to know. Like for example, 行くのが難しいですよ. Let's go with that. 行くのが難しいですよ. What's wrong with that? How can I fix it? What are the basic rules in that?
Wait, say it again.
行くのが難しいですよ.
You said that correctly.
Okay. So what was that? Like what is the pitch accent of that?
So iku is heiban. The no attaches low because
because heiban always attaches low, right?
No, heiban is the one where it attaches high, but the no is an exception particle.
Okay.
That particular version of no particle always attaches low.
Seems like a lot to learn.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, okay, if I just remember heiban always goes high and odaka always goes low, I'm in the clear. I'll just learn that. But you're saying when a verb is in the, what about koto, iku koto?
So koto is odaka.
But iku is heiban, which normally attaches high. And so you're saying that the no is the exception to attach low. What does koto do?
So koto, it's just normal. So
it's not an exception.
Yeah, it's not an exception.
Okay, so how about ikimasu?
So all verbs, when you attach mas, all verbs have the same pitch. It's high until the ma, and then the su is low, but you hardly pronounce it.
Ikimasu. Yeah, I've noticed that the ma has a stress on it for sure every time I was saying it.
Yeah. So that's actually kind of a pitch accent cheat code. If you don't know the pitch of a verb, if you put it in mas form, it's automatically you get it right because it's always flat and then the su is low.
Okay. So what's the most common pattern type, would you say?
Probably heiban overall. But the percentages differ. So what they call,
and this might be why the what you say is a misconception is that Japanese is flat when it's not. When the main pattern is called flat, I think that might be where that misconception comes from.
Yeah, well,
when it's really not flat.
I think the other reason is because although like even if maybe a little bit more than 50% of words are flat, maybe it's more, I don't remember off the top of my head, but English speakers tend to never pronounce anything flat because nothing in English is pronounced flat. So when Japanese people hear a really bad Japanese accent like boku wa konnichiwa no sugoi desu ne, the thing they hear is
I'm just going to isolate that for the record when I introduce you. This is Matt. Boom, I'm just going to in the edit.
That's basically what I did to you in my video, so I deserve it. But basically I think when Japanese people hear a really bad Japanese accent, their first thought is we need more flat here. That's the problem. Not enough flat.
I've said it in my videos. When in doubt, just go flat. I've said that. If you are confused about how to sound, just go flat. I've said that in my videos too. But
I mean, that's
but at the same time, I was like, it's not always flat. I never really thought more about it beyond that. I was like, Japanese is not flat. Like I would absolutely agree with that. especially the way that they do intonations on those particles. They do a lot of
Yeah.
hits on those particles. At the end of a
But,
pause, they tend
yeah.
to always go up.
But
If
I
you go
think,
too up, you sound
can
like
we-
a girl, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. But can we take a step back for a second?
No,
Because
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I think so. I think that this is what I was explaining. We got kind of derailed.
Welcome to my world. I
lots of-
always derail people.
Lots of interesting stuff to talk about with pitch
Yeah.
accent. But basically, so I was talking about so you kind of agreed with me that if you would have been introduced to pitch accent very early on, like in a basic introduction, I'm not talking about any of this super detailed, complicated stuff we're talking about now. I'm saying if someone just sat you down and was like, see, there's this thing called pitch accent in Japanese. There's these 4 basic patterns. It gets complicated, but at the base, the high and lows of a word is important. Right?
I think my situation is unique because I was 12 years old and I was in Japan.
Okay.
And I think though, if I sat down my students on Japanese from Zero and in video 4 brought up pitch accent, I think a lot would stop watching the videos. I think based on what I'm seeing, the people that in earnest learned about pitch accent after when they started learning Japanese, they caught one of your videos or they caught one of Dogen's videos. So many of the comments are like, I was overwhelmed. I got depressed. And a lot of people were privately messaging me saying, you needed to say this. Oh my God, thank you. Because I was devastated when I started learning about pitch accent. So I think I'm a unique situation. I 100% believe you are unique. I believe Dogen is unique. I believe there is a super level of person that exists when they learn Japanese that no matter what they learn, they will learn it. I think, Matt, your level of intelligence, you are extremely intelligent. You are extremely dedicated. You literally recommend RTK, right? You recommend RTK.
Not anymore, but
Okay, well, interesting. You recommended it for a while. And when I finally read it, I was like, this is what he recommended. Although I did say your video on RTK was the best video I've ever seen. Like, really well made, honestly. You think you should keep it up. Don't remove it even if you don't agree. But RTK, when I read it, I was like, this is what he thinks is good? You know what I mean? It's because you have a capacity to learn beyond most people. I don't think you're ever in the trenches with people like learning with a book like Japanese from Zero, where they've got a normal life. They're not a young kid. They're not trying to prove anything. They just want to speak Japanese. I think those people, when they hear pitch accent, they're done for. I would be done for. Tones almost dropped me out of Chinese. Like, I'm still
I do know a couple people who say they gave up on Chinese because of tones.
Yeah. But I came in with Chinese. I have a video called Chinese Isn't As Hard As You Think or something like that, which of course I backed up on because I was very, very Dunning-Kruger at that. But I still believe, like, when I went to Taiwan, I was in Taiwan for a week and I was using all of my Chinese that I know in not being not super aware, just like, whoa, like I know some of my tones and naturally I get some of them right, but I definitely am not thinking about it. I got around. I wasn't like, I was ordering food, because contextually they know when I say qing bing shui, even if my tones are wrong, it means ice water, please, even though it might mean something completely different. And I think that's where the community of people that think about pitch accent, the people that think about pitch accent so hard, and they get a little bit paranoid about their pitch accent being wrong, fail to understand that context is everything in a language. And there will never be a case where there is no context. There'll be a smell, a pre-conversation, an event occurring. There's always something that gives you some sort of context that textbooks don't give you, that learning a word all by itself don't give you. If we just learned words in isolation, if we just learned Japanese without context, absolutely, I'm super pro pitch accent, because that would be the only way to know what words you're saying. And the example is always that Hana example. No one brings flowers to work and then starts talking about noses. It just doesn't happen.
Well, yeah, but I mean, no one's really arguing in the pitch accent world that if you mess up pitch accent, you're not going to be able to communicate. I think everyone's on the same page.
So then why spend do you feel that the amount of effort that you recommend, like, I'm not talking about the people that don't care about it, right? The amount of effort that you put into it, that people recommend, is it really worth that effort?
I think so, yeah.
If it means that half of the people that start learning Japanese will quit.
Well, no, I don't think so. But I think that part of the problem is that pitch accent hasn't been taught well enough.
Okay.
Like, I think that I could come up with first of all, there's 2 pieces of pitch accent that you have to make very clear when you're trying to teach it. first of all is like, yeah, you need to teach the basics.
Okay.
That's been taught. But the other part is you have to explain the mechanism of how language acquisition works. So what I'm saying is that pitch accent's really complicated, but so are a lot of things in the language that normal people are never explicitly taught and they just pick up kind of naturally. So what I'm saying is that if you just plant the seed of pitch accent and then you forget about it and you don't worry about trying to get it right, you'll end up speaking significantly better than if that seed would have never been planted.
I agree with that. I don't disagree.
So I think you have to, when you're teaching
I like your 30-second, 60-second thing. I don't know the timing of that. I haven't really thought about it, but I don't disagree with that. I think.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is you have to explicitly tell people, hey, even if this doesn't make sense yet, don't worry. That's normal. There's nothing wrong with you. You don't even have to get it consciously. Just the fact that this seed is being planted, that is going to eventually benefit you later on. And if you make that really clear to them, then I don't think you'll have such a high dropout rate. I also just think I could teach the basics better than most of the tutorials out there.
All right. I want to move to some of my questions to make sure that we don't run out of time.
Okay.
So, what are your feelings on this heibanka, which I only saw a few things. I read a few things that about where Japanese younger people are tending to shift from the official, even though they're living in Tokyo, they're moving more to a heibanka style. They're flattening out the language because one of the theories was that it's just conservation of energy, right?
Yeah.
It's just easier to say it, so they say it that way. But what do you think about that? What are your thoughts?
I mean,
on
that's
that?
definitely a real thing that's happening, and I observe it all the time. But like, so one example of that is like the word somo-somo. So traditionally, the pronunciation of the word somo-somo was atamadaka, like that,
Right.
somo-somo. But now a lot of younger people pronounce it somo-somo. And what we have now is that both pronunciations are used and they give a different impression to Japanese people. So if you say somo-somo, that sounds, official, formal, like, you're doing your stuff right. Whereas somo-somo feels kind of casual, kind of young and like, hip style. And so maybe you wouldn't want to use that at a job interview, right? But maybe you would want to use it when you sound cool with your friends. So actually, I observe a lot of Japanese people, the same individuals will use different pitch accents depending on the context, because they give different feels. So it's almost just like how, like, for example, the difference between saying ammari versus amma. Like, yeah, amma nainda ne. It's like, it means,
Yeah, you wouldn't say amma in a nice setting where socially you're around people that are higher than you. Definitely wouldn't say amma.
Yeah, right. But then you would with your friends. So,
but I mean, in that sense, you'd also speak slower. You'd enunciate more. There's a lot of things you would do. That's interesting that you're saying people change. I mean, I for me, just a different way of speaking. Like, you're right. Like, ore wa sa. Like, I would never say ore wa sa ever in a interpreting situation, right? Watashi wa desu ne is what I would say.
There's things like that, but they play out just on the level of pitch. Like, for example, boku is used with two different pronunciations, boku and boku. And boku is the traditional pronunciation. It's what an NHK announcer would use. It's what you hear in anime, because anime voice actors try to speak like, perfect standard Japanese. But
unless they're a Kansai dialect character, which is so common.
Yeah. In which case,
the whole pitch accent goes out the window.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that everyone understands. We're talking about Minami Kanto dialect accent is what we're talking about.
Yeah,
we're not talking
which
about
is like
all of
99%
Japan.
of what you hear on TV and the internet when it comes to Japanese.
I don't think you should count out Kansai dialect and how big it is, honestly.
I mean, yeah, it's by far the second most popular. But anyway, what I was saying is that
with the flattening, you're saying the boku,
the traditional pronunciation is atamadaka, but most people say it heiban, and it sounds a lot more cool and a lot more hip. So from a Japanese person, the difference between atamadaka and heiban,
give me the difference. Give me the normal version and then the cool. Give me to in a sentence, like say, I don't think.
僕はそうですね。日本語好きですね。まあ僕はね。で、僕はね。
So that's your cool version?
That's my traditional one.
Traditional version. Okay.
Then if you're like, 僕はさ、いやちょっとダメだと思うんだけどな。
I literally can't hear the difference.
Yeah, but to a Japanese person, it's almost like those are two different first-person pronouns, really.
Interesting.
Because they have a totally different vibe.
Interesting. All right.
And so the heibanka is real, but it's not. It doesn't just mean say everything heiban and then it's a free pass. It's like, first of all, it's happening on specific words, and it doesn't happen on other words.
Hang on,
and a lot of times
can I address something? Sorry. George wants to sell his books and tell people pitch doesn't matter. What are you talking about, David? What time did I say buy my books in this entire podcast? Calm down, dude. George shifted goalposts 3 times by now, and it keeps getting funnier. You guys, man, listen. Listen, people that are on my stream are going to be pro me, and they're going to talk the same way about Matt. You need to understand you're in a camp right now. You need to look at this as 2 people having a debate. I'm not shifting any goalposts. I'm changing my opinion on what it is, and I'm addressing issues that I have with pitch accent. I have said that I think it's not an invaluable thing. I don't like it, but I don't think it's an invaluable thing, and I definitely will think about it more. And I listen, I promise you, I will either end up hating it again, or I will end up loving it. There's 2 ways, or I'll end up saying, you know what, I think it's valuable. I think that's where I'm going to go. I think eventually I'm going to be like, you know what, I think it's valuable, but for these reasons, I don't think it's necessary. Okay.
I mean, it's not necessary. I'm not trying to argue that for sure.
I mean, when I think
it's worth it.
When I think about people through history, and I could only think of 2 right off the top of my head, right? You know what I'm thinking about it, that were amazing human beings, extremely intelligent, and no one thought twice about the way they spoke. Einstein and Schwarzenegger. Those guys don't have perfect English by any sense. If anything, Schwarzenegger has like pretty bad English in his earlier movies, right? He got better over time. But those guys, there's no suffering in their careers or in their academia, right? Because of their English. So I think about myself personally, right? You know, I've interpreted for Fortune 500 companies. I've been to like 11 different countries. I've been flown in to interpret, you know, so not like I'm world famous, but I got hired over and over again. If there was an issue with my Japanese, there's no way that a Japanese company would keep spending money on me. That's not I'm going to be kind and keep hiring this guy. It's a expensive proposition, especially when there's actually Japanese interpreters that they could hire locally, right? So with my history, I just think I've done really well without that, right?
Yeah. So the argument you're kind of making
game?
now is that pronunciation having pronunciation above a certain basic level isn't good important.
I thought we established this isn't pronunciation though.
No. Pitch accent. When I just mean like a good accent in general, like in the most, because you're talking about Schwarzenegger, Einstein. You're kind of just saying, hey, even if you speak a language with a heavy foreign accent, what's the problem with that? And of course, there's no problem with that. And yeah, lots of people are very successful despite having a thick foreign accent, and it's fine. But I think, like for me personally,
I would almost say some people are famous because of the accent. Weirdly.
Yeah.
Weirdly.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean,
have you seen those guys on Japanese TV where you know their Japanese is better than that, but they're speaking lower for the ratings? Yeah. Have you seen that? That's sad. That's always sad. For me. I think if you are good level, you shouldn't have to lower your level. I've always been not a fan of that.
But I mean, I think in general, like when I meet someone for the first time and their English isn't their first language and they speak with a heavy accent, I do feel I can't immediately not get as close with them, but there's a little bit more of a barrier, and if it turns out that their English level is really good and it's just their accent that is thick, then with time I will learn that, and then it will not really be an issue anymore. But initially, of course, when I meet someone and they have a thick accent, my first thought is, how good are they at English? If I speak normally, will they understand me? Do I need to speak a little more slowly? Do I have to be concerned? And that's a natural concern, because a lot of times a foreign accent is a sign of less proficiency in a language. It's not always the case.
I would agree in that sense. If someone's accent's so off, you know, if it's like, hi, I speak the English. I mean, that is like way off. But if you're like, hi, I speak English, but I grew up in, you know, if they're speaking relatively good, I'm not ever thinking, oh, I have to hold back.
But like, have you ever seen the Karate Kid remake with Jaden Smith?
First of all, American movies mess up every foreign language they do. And it's cringe.
This isn't about that.
I've seen it, but I don't remember. You remind me.
Do you remember the scene? It was in the commercial. Do you remember the scene where he's flying? So Jaden Smith, little American kid, he's going to China. He's moving to China, and he's on the airplane, and he's like trying to memorize Chinese phrases. And he turns to a Chinese-looking guy next to him and goes like, "Ni hao ma," and then the guy goes, "I'm from Detroit." Like, do you remember that scene?
No, but
where he goes like, "I'm from Detroit," in like a perfect American accent, and it's just immediately clear, like, this guy's the same as me.
Okay.
You know, when you have a really good accent, it immediately has an effect of like, oh crap, he's like literally one of me. You know, he's the same as me. And so of course there's pronunciation is a whole spectrum, and of course it's pretty problematic, or there's a lot of downsides if you have a really thick accent, and you don't experience those if you have a pretty good accent. I don't disagree. But if you have an excellent accent, there are definite perks of that. So of course it makes sense that people.
I'm trying to imagine how things would have been quote unquote better for me with a.
Well, you never know because you didn't experience it, right?
I know, but you don't know.
Are you basically
that
saying my experience was maxed out? Like I had the.
Well, do
I've
you think
had-
that your experience would have been less if you were just my version of speaking?
Well, I mean, I don't want to comment on that, but what
Well, I mean,
I know is I have a.
we're already
I
down
have a
that
pretty
path.
good. Well, in my I have a pretty good sample of pre-pitch accent and post-pre accent.
Okay.
Sorry, pre-pitch accent, post-pitch accent, because I didn't start studying pitch accent until I was already highly fluent in Japanese, and I noticed a distinct difference in how Japanese people respond to it.
Okay, I noticed a distinct difference in Korean for me once I knew more grammar. Everything changed once I was speaking higher level grammar, not pitch accent. I don't think my Korean accent's perfect, but I never thought about pitch accent in Korean, and I know it has it. It maybe
No, I
not
don't
as
think
much
Korean
as
has
Japanese.
pitch accent.
I already read it on Wikipedia. It does have a little bit, apparently. But for example, if you know any Korean, like 없어요, that definitely has a 없어요. It's not 없어요. It's 없어요. It's definitely got ups and downs. There's no way it doesn't. Even English
Okay, I
has
mean,
ups
I don't
and
know that
downs.
much
Right?
about Korean, so I don't really have any strong opinions on it. But.
All right. Well, I'm just saying that for me, the switch was when I first
I know,
learned.
but you're saying as if it's one switch.
Okay,
but
I'm
it's a whole
going to give you
spectrum,
multiple
right?
switches. When I first learned Korean, I sounded Japanese, and everyone knew that I must be fluent in Japanese. Okay, and that was the level that I was, right? Then my accent improved, got a little bit better, right? People stopped saying that, but as I went to level 5, level 6 Korean classes, now all of a sudden I'm saying things. Now people are like, "Is your wife Korean? How long have you lived in Korea? Like 10 years?" When I literally have only been going for a month at a time over the last 8 years. I would go for a month and go to the school. So I get probably the same exact comments that you get that, wow, how long did you live in Japan? You're like, I never lived in Japan. You're all happy because that's an amazing thing. And where there's people in Korea that have been married to a Korean, lived in Korea for 6-7 years, and they suck. And here I am with much better Korean than them, and people think I live there when my wife's Japanese, right? So I'm saying without awareness of that, I think you are interpreting the compliments that you get. You're wiring it to your pitch accent when really
but like
without your pitch accent, you would still be getting great
No,
compliments.
but like I said, I have an experiential sample of how big the difference is because I was already highly fluent before I studied pitch accent, and then
When was that? How many years ago was that? Curiosity.
Like
These are some of my questions. When did you learn? Was
3 or 4 years ago.
Okay, so 3 or 4 years ago, you were already highly fluent. What was different?
Mm-hmm.
What was different when you got the pitch accent?
Well, I learned how to speak with correct pitch accent.
No, I mean, how did Japanese treat you differently?
The number of times where people instead of the number of times where right off the bat they couldn't tell whether I was a foreigner or whether I like had grown up in Japan was a lot higher. And then they have to kind of gauge of like, wait, are you actually Japanese? Like, did you just live in Japan for a long time?
They would say, "Are you Japanese?" You mean
no,
in,
like
in
they
VR
just
chat?
no. They wouldn't even comment on it at all. They just talked to me as if I was Japanese, and then like a little bit into the conversation.
I mean, that's everybody I talk to. Nobody I talk to lowers their level for me. Ever.
No, I'm not talking about lowering my level. Like they don't even like. There's like no conversation. Like I actually have a video up on my channel when I went to New York of when I'm even wearing a weird outfit. Like there's not any comment about the fact that I'm a foreigner or anything. It's just like they treat me as if I was a Japanese person. And then when I eventually, if I bring it up or we talk about it, then they specifically will say, "Oh, you don't." Like almost every American that I've talked to gets the intonation wrong or has an accent, but you don't have that. And they specifically say that comment. And I never used to get that comment. I would get that I have good pronunciation, hatsuon ii desu ne, but they would never specifically say, "Oh, your intonation is good." They always tell me that. Well, not always, but very often they will tell me that now.
They say your intonation is good, not your accent.
Well, no, that's because Japanese
What are they
people
saying in
don't know
Japanese?
the
They say
difference.
intonation or they saying hatsuon?
Yeah, they say
saying?
intonation. Intonation is what Japanese people generally refer to for pitch accent.
Mm-hmm. I've seen kote accento. I've seen there's this other word I can't remember.
Like,
It's like
kote accento and accento is the like official linguistic term for it. But Japanese people who haven't specifically studied linguistics or studied it in general, they just call it intonation. So it's not the technically correct term, but that's what Japanese people generally call it.
okay. All right, interesting. I mean, no one's ever said I have good intonation. So maybe if I put effort into pitch accent, I would get that. That would be the only way to know. Of course, yeah, I don't know where I would hear that. I'm trying to think of a situation where someone would just randomly say that to me that I just met. because they're always, you know how they are. They're always overwhelmed when you speak decent Japanese. They're overwhelmed when you speak shitty Japanese. They're just overwhelmed in that initial time. It's always that second or third time when they're like, wow, like when they realize it's not just when they get past that. There's a meme going around now, of course, that, when Japanese say you're Jozu, it means you're not good, which isn't true. It just means the first time they say it, they're being polite, and they probably wouldn't say it if you were really, really bad anyway, but they're also being encouraging, right? The second time they say it in that same conversation, they really mean it, and they're beyond that point, right? So I know you always get that. I know I always get that, and I know Dogen always gets that. So you're saying there's a part after that where they go, man, your intonation is amazing.
Yeah.
Cool.
And actually, if you watch the video on Shalma's channel that we made, we got it on film. But the other thing is, like, I can hear
let me say something about that. Now, this is not to shatter anybody, because I'm sure Shalma's amazing. You guys in America are going to get way more compliments than in Japan. Because it happened to me when I went to LA. I noticed that when I'm in LA and I speak Japanese, people are flabbergasted. Like, they're like, wow. And the reason is because all day long people are going in there, konnichiwa, watashi wa kare hitotsu kudasai. They're not getting anyone that speaks with relatively decent accent. They're all day long they're bombarded with the quote unquote weebs that learned like 4 phrases in a phrase book. But when you're in Japan, there's a lot of speakers that speak it, so it's pretty normal. There's like you're young, but I'm 48 now. I remember where in Japan, no matter where I went, people were flabbergasted, right? Now when you go to Japan, they just speak to you like you speak it. Even if you're not good, they're just like, whatever, they're going to speak to you. They assume foreigners know Japanese now. It's the norm. So in LA, in New York, like that's always been I want to see Xiaoma in China. I want to see those videos in Japan. That would be a much more better gauge for me, right? I mean, I have that same stuff on my videos too, by the way, all the time. My editor doesn't keep them all in, but apparently he's working on where he's doing a Nihongo Jozu one 1 million times. And I am going to go to Japan, by the way, and do a video where I only speak shitty Japanese and see how many times I get that Nihongo Jozu. I'm ready for it, right? So I understand it's an issue, but I wonder if those videos wouldn't be as impressive where they go, whoa, I don't know they would be like that if you were in China or if you were in
it
Japan.
could be. It also probably depends on where you are in Japan, what the context is, and just depends on the person as well, for sure.
Good pitch accent,
I mean, you could also...
good pitch accent makes the conversation flow better, not the other way around. Wrong. Speaking Japanese well makes the conversation go well. I disagree with you there. The pitch accent is not an issue. Do you mind if I move on to one more thing?
Yeah.
You do mind? You want to?
No. Go ahead.
In Oz comment, which is pinned to the top of my response to your video, a couple points I'll summarize. She says, George's Japanese, his pitch accent differences is not a result in her here. I don't know if it's a he or her. Is not a result of him being an American. It's a result of him living in Tohoku. Okay. I lived in northern Japan. That's where I learned Japanese. Okay. That's what their statement is. Matter of fact, he says when I'm not looking at the comment, but when I hear George's Japanese, I actually get nostalgic for Tohoku when I hear his Japanese. Okay, so if anything, I have Tohoku Ben mixed in to my Kansai dialect, and then when he gives the example of my Izen versus Izeng, whichever way that went, he said that's actually how they say it in Tohoku. So George is mixing Tohoku with Hyojungo because that's his background, right? And then they go, so that made me think, okay, that's why Kansai dialect being flipped isn't a problem, because anyone from Kansai that's speaking Hyojungo is going to probably do the same thing with those certain words. They're probably going to mix it in. They're probably not thinking, oh, I got to speak Hyojungo, so I'm going to flip all the words. They're probably going to flip the endings.
That is what they do generally.
Okay.
Like,
well, by the way, most Japanese... my wife doesn't agree with you on that.
Well, no, like... I can think of
my wife is Kansai dialect, by the way.
Yeah, well...
I do believe there's degrees, right? I do believe that if you're in Tokyo, there is not going to be a pure Tokyo dialect spoken by most people. It's going to be a mishmash. Just like Kansai dialect, when I taught the Kansai dialect course, I had to introduce Kyoto dialect, I had to introduce Osaka Ben, I had to introduce different things because they all mix it. They're moving around the country. There's no people that are just born in Tokyo, live in Tokyo, and only interact with people from Tokyo.
I know, but almost all Japanese people that are like my age or like within a 10-year range of that, they have grown up watching Japanese TV, watching anime, and listening to the radio.
But there's Kansai dialect all over Japanese TV. I just finished watching Bokuga Inaimachi, and it's Hokkaido Ben. It's Tohoku dialect. They're like, Dokusai ita?
It's like...
Ikubesa.
It's like 95% Hyojingo with like a little bit of like Hokkaido feel sprinkled on top.
Okay, I agree with you. It's
Like-
not complete. It's not complete because they couldn't promote that.
No, yeah,
because no
no,
one would
exactly.
understand what was happening.
Exactly.
I was
So
surprised
by
they even said
definition-
menkoi. I was like, wow, do people mostly know what menkoi means or shakkoi? Do they know that? Maybe they don't, right? But when you just change the endings, the main
but
the main part about a dialect, right? The main I don't know if you'll agree with me on this, but the main part about a dialect is the endings are very different. That's the most common thing that's different. Then you've got some word differences. You guys like I was learning shitake in that particular anime, which I had never seen because I didn't live in Hokkaido, I lived in Aomori. So there's certain different ways to say some nouns, but mostly it's like the ending is completely different, and the intonation is different, right? So where was I going with that? Well,
I mean, in my experience,
I know. Sorry, I'm sorry. I know where I was
Yeah.
going. So I think when a person comes from the country, right, and they all when they jokyo up to Tokyo for their jobs and their colleges and whatnot, I think what happens is they just change the endings, and those nouns a lot of times are sometimes intact. And I think that's what's happened with me because I'm not obviously paying attention at all to my dialect. I do know that no one claims that I'm from Tohoku anymore. I was surprised that heard it, but maybe you have to be from Tohoku to know that. When I first came back to America, everyone knew I was from Tohoku as a tour guide because my Japanese was so Tohoku dialect, right?
Yeah,
but
well-
now no one claims that.
Well, in my experience, the majority of Japanese people I talk to who are not from Tokyo are like bilingual in whatever dialect they grew up in and Hyojingo. It's just a result of like everyone watches TV, everyone listens to the radio, and yeah, there's Kansai Ben on the radio, and sometimes every once in a while there's a TV show that takes place in some inaka where there's a Hogen or something, but the vast majority of stuff on TV, like probably above 95%, if you include news shows and everything, is Hyojingo spoken with Hyojingo accent. So even my friends from Kansai, like for example, there's a YouTuber Yoko who I appeared on her channel. She grew up speaking Kansai Ben, and she speaks Kansai Ben in her videos, but she can speak Hyojingo. And when she first started speaking to me, she spoke in Hyojingo with Hyojingo accent because I think in their minds, like well,
That's how my wife is with me. My wife has always been speaking Hyojingo with me. Always.
Yeah, and so I mean, I don't know whether your accent
but when she
changes
records sounds for our videos, she says she often has to re-record it because she's messing up some of the sound, right? Because
yeah, so
obviously
she can tell that she's messing it up.
Well, we're teaching Japanese, right? So, but that doesn't mean she always nails it. Sometimes when you'll see it, sometimes in my videos, I go, yeah, she definitely didn't say that right. So I'm aware of pitch accent, like you said, naturally, like the way she does her pitch sometimes for nay is a common thing that she does so differently that doesn't sound like normal to me, right? So I'm aware of it. Definitely aware of it.
Yeah, but I mean. So yeah, if you're someone from Kansai, you can probably speak Hyojingo, and when you speak Hyojingo, your accent's going to become Hyojingo to a large extent. Yeah, stuff's going to leak through. You're probably, if you speak for long enough, it's going to become apparent that you're from Kansai, or at least that you're not from Tokyo. But that's pretty different than being a foreigner who, like, you just have accents all over the place. Like Dogen did this on the other stream where it's like that's a little different than like first you're speaking in a West Coast accent, then suddenly you're speaking in a Southern accent, and then you're speaking in a British accent, and then you're speaking in a Chinese accent. Like it's disorienting if you're jumping around all over.
Pretty sure
the place.
that doesn't happen though.
Well, yeah, it happens. So yeah, because there's no when a foreigner doesn't.
So are there
accent,
Japanese people that when they learn English they'll learn like they'll flip around between that many different styles? And
no, there's not. But a lot of times when foreigners learn pitch accent, it's totally random. Like a lot of times they won't even say the same word consistently. Like they might say, they might use a word twice in a sentence, and they'll say the word with two different pitch accent patterns each time. And so it just it's like all over the place because they're, like I said, their brain doesn't realize that certain words have to
you got to
use
address.
certain
David will send you another $99, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Man.
He might have sent you like a ton. I haven't been watching.
I haven't been looking at the chat because I've been like focusing on our conversation.
Yes. Oh, someone sent me 99 cents. Thank you. I'm just kidding.
Someone send Matt to Japan Fund. Also, my 4-year-old Jude is begging me to say hi to the people on my screen. Hey, Jude. Yeah, thanks again so much, Will. And I want to go to Japan as soon as I can get a visa because of when the Corona thing opens up.
Okay, the guy that paid $5 on my super chat said, "Love the discussions. I just want to hear Matt finish his thoughts." Thank you. Yes, I'm bad at this. So what I'm gonna do is I have like 4 more questions, but I want to let you have some time where I'm just not interrupting you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, and also I'm getting a little tired, so sorry if I'm like a little bit all over the place, but but yeah, I think I mostly have argued the biggest points that I wanted to get across, which is that I think to me the most compelling thing you've said so far is this idea that certain people they were introduced to pitch accent early on and that completely overwhelmed them and maybe led to them quitting Japanese altogether. That's just how much of a like psychological impact it like negative impact it had on them. And so I definitely think that is concerning. And I don't want to sound conceited, but I get your point of like, okay, maybe certain people aren't as smart as other people. I mean, that sounds really bad.
Everyone's
but,
but it's true. Everyone's different.
Aptitudes.
Everyone's different.
Different people have different aptitudes, and
some
so
people quit when they get to kanji. Some people quit when they when they get they get through like I know the sales numbers, but let's say they get to most people quit after book 1. Because even that's overwhelming. There's always a in the pyramid of learning. Once they get to a certain point, no matter what, they're going to do it. And that's what I think. Primarily, you guys are top tier. I feel like I'm a top tier guy too because I learned with whatever, right? And honestly, if I would have been introduced with that pitch accent, I probably would have embraced the fuck out of it. Honestly, I would have done it. Why wouldn't I? If someone told me it was important, I would do it. I think my only argument is always people need to know it's not that important because you're not going to be misunderstood.
I agree with you. But I agree with you. But I think that this was, I guess, the crux of my argument is I'd say I think I could teach pitch accent in such a way that it's not that overwhelming. And especially when it comes to this kind of not warning label, but this disclaimer that don't try to understand it all. Let it kind of just wash over you, and that's going to plant a seed so that you pick up on it more over time. I think people get overwhelmed because they think, I have to consciously understand all this stuff like it's calculus. But you don't. Yeah, if you want to try to sound fully native, then you probably should. But I agree, that's not for everyone.
I just worry about people, being so overwhelmed. Like, I already know, like, you understand, you already know Japanese, right? So your brain can handle a lot. And my brain can handle a lot. I can handle extremely complex conversations in Japanese. I can keep track of what thing was being modified in a multi-clause sentence. But you take a person that's just learning and you add even one little bit more to that comprehension and you really are they're not going to be able to speak. People are already scared enough to speak. They're already worried enough that they're going to not be understood. I would say the bigger problem than pitch accent is people when they speak too quietly because they're nervous. So they're like, I see it all the time with Japanese people when they come to America. We take them to Subway and they're like, okay, bro, would you like, sir? White? And like, what? And he goes, they didn't understand me. When really they just didn't hear them because they were too quiet. And I think that happens a lot of times when people learn Japanese. They're not even, most people aren't even willing to try to sound good because it's an act. It's like konnichiwa. Like no one wants to do that. They want to say konnichiwa because they're more comfortable with it.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. That's what they got to get over, I think, more than a pitch accent. Like if I bet I could come up with 10 things ahead of pitch accent. I'll probably make that video. 10 things more important before starting pitch accent.
Yeah, but I guess we're coming at this from fundamentally different approaches.
You're welcome to comment on that one too when I make it.
Well, I do want to comment on that. You said you were going to let me talk for a little bit, but
I did.
Keep not doing that.
Hang on, I let you go for a while, then I did comment in. I
didn't even go for that long, but
all right. Well, hang on. Alexa, start a 5-minute timer.
So
5 minutes starting now.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I think we're coming at this from a different approaches. You're thinking, what's like. People are so I'm gonna exaggerate. I know this is exaggerated, but just to make my point, you're coming out of the perspective. People are so dumb and scared and lazy and stupid. What's the very bare minimum I can tell them that will get them by, so that they won't quit and run away? Whereas I'm thinking of what's gonna give people the best bang for their buck. I'm kind of assuming that they're at least motivated, right? Because learning Japanese is hard, so I'm assuming you signed up for this hard thing. You're motivated. You want to get the best bang for your buck, and I'm thinking that for the vast majority of people, maybe there's some people that really just can't handle it. But I have faith in people who take the initiative to teach themselves Japanese, right? I think that's someone who's motivated. And I think that if they listen to pitch accent the way that I explained it, including the disclaimer that you don't have to try to understand it all, just let that be a seed that's going to sink into your subconscious mind and allow you to naturally pick up on it more over time, that's going to be worth it for virtually everybody. And to a minority of people who want to get really good, then they can take pitch accent further and learn all the rules and learn all the calculus of it, which probably isn't as complicated as you think it is now. Because like, imagine if this was your day 2 of you ever hearing about Japanese grammar, and you were like, okay, so the Tate form does this, and I'm like, oh well, no, actually, there's this exception and stuff. Everything sounds complicated when you're new to it, right? But if you learn it one piece at a time, eventually it all makes sense. It builds on top of each other. So I think you're getting the sense that pitch accent is this super complicated thing. And yeah, granted, it's pretty complicated, but also you're trying to understand all of it at once, which no one's able to do, right? Even when I learned pitch accent, I learned one little bite at a time until that, and then once that bite got integrated and became normal to me, then I learned the next bite. And that's how I would teach it to people as well. And so, yeah, I think that's the main point. And the other thing I want to talk about with the dialects is that, this is kind of the point I forgot to make earlier, is that for the most part, when you speak standard Japanese, like whenever you hear standard Japanese, that standard Japanese is gonna come with a standard Japanese pitch accent. When you hear Kansai Ben, it's always gonna come with a Kansai Ben pitch accent. And there's many different dialects. And 99% of people studying Japanese are learning standard Japanese. And so basically, if you if you don't study pitch accent, your pitch accent is probably gonna be all willy-nilly. And so speaking standard Japanese with willy-nilly pitch accent, that's not really equivalent to, a Kansai person speaking with Kansai pitch accent, and it's not even really equivalent to a Kansai person speaking Hyojungo that's almost perfect and not perfect. And not quite perfect, right? Because they get one or two things off. Because first of all, when they get those one or two things off, they're going to be off in a Kansai way, which Japanese people are still going to be used to hearing. Whereas the way that a Kansai person messes up standard Japanese pitch accent when they're speaking standard Japanese is going to be different than the way a foreigner messes up when a foreigner speaks standard Japanese. They're going to get way more wrong. It's going to be off in unnatural ways that a Japanese person wouldn't get off. And it's going to be more distracting. It's going to have a distinctly foreign sense to it. And I think that personally, I'm invested in reducing the amount of foreignness my Japanese has, because I know that makes Japanese people feel more comfortable more quickly, and that they can treat me the same as they could treat anyone else. And of course, you can get if you are really good in every other area, like you're George, right? You have really good grammar, really good vocab, you're pretty much a master of Japanese in the majority of ways, then yeah, even if your pitch is a little bit whack, you can still get treated really well. But for other people who maybe aren't at that level yet, improving their pitch can go a long way for making Japanese people feel that you're more proficient. And like I said, it doesn't have to be such a big thing. It can be something that kind of you largely pick up over time just by introducing yourself to it a little early on. I think that will make a difference.
You still got a minute. I don't want
to. Let's see. And I mean, I can't. You said that maybe some of your what I called pitch accent mistakes are actually Tohoku dialect. I can't really confirm. Maybe some of that is Tohoku dialect. I would imagine that not all of it was.
Well, go read the comment, because she literally gives that specific example.
I mean, I think I did read it. I know, like she said for a couple of the words, but I mean, and also the other thing is, like, if you're speaking standard Japanese and maybe your accent is like half Hyojungo, half Tohoku, then
I mean, it's not. It's not half and half. I mean, I have some words that apparently, I mean, I didn't know this till I read the comment. Apparently some of my intonations are Tohoku dialect. I never knew. I thought it was completely gone by now. Because when I go to Tohoku and they ask me, do I speak Tohoku dialect? And I say mukasi wa na, and I'm literally acting, because I don't remember how to do Tohoku dialect like naturally anymore. I'm just putting on Alexa, stop timer. I'm just putting on like an act at this point, right? Because I don't remember it. So it's kind of interesting to me that I still have that issue.
But I mean, like with Izen, right? Like it could be Nakadaka, but like what someone who kind of had a sense for pitch accent would guess, they'd guess it's either a Tamadaka or Heiban. And so it's only kind of like a binary. So you had like a 50% chance, and you guessed, you got it wrong. And it happened to be Tohoku, but that could be a total coincidence, So
well, says that he or she watches my streams and feels natsukashi for Tohoku.
Well,
so I don't think it's a one-time off that I luckily was Tohoku dialect.
I mean,
I think that they see a pattern that
But I also think that people who are not from Tohoku are just gonna think that it probably sounds foreign. They're not gonna.
I think they're not gonna think about it at all. In my honest opinion, I think that there's a. Is it okay if I talk about some things? Okay, I think first of all, I think we agree for the most part. To end the debate, I would say I agree it's good to be aware of pitch accent because it can improve your accent, especially if you're struggling. I don't agree that it's something that you should be introduced to super early on because it's just too overwhelming. Like, as I was even making this PowerPoint, I was like, I keep coming across all of these different exceptions, which I didn't write about. I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like to burden yourself with that. So, you know, is it worth learning? Yeah, probably. It's good to be aware of it. I mean, it's part of the language, right? I saw someone do some stuff on pitch accent, even in English. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Where I can't remember it, but they were saying verbs and nouns are treated completely different in English pitch accent. And I think if you were learning Japanese, like they would take the same word and they say, when it's a noun, it does this, but when it's a verb, it always does this. I forgot which direction it went, but I saved that video on TikTok and I'll try to send it to you if I remember. But it was amazing. I was like, oh wow, I never thought about it that way. If I was a Japanese person learning English, that would be super beneficial. And I think that there's a lot of benefit to be had in pitch accent. I just am not going to introduce it. Like I don't feel like it's worth it in the early stages. It'd be like you said, look, learn hiragana, then katakana. After you learn the kana, then maybe think about pitch accent. I would say, how about you learn hiragana, katakana, get through the kanji, get your grammar up pretty good, keep doing your best to have the best accent, and then you say, you know what? I'm on a level where I'm comfortable speaking Japanese. My processor can handle a lot of Japanese. Maybe now I can improve my accent. I'm the kind of guy that definitely should do that, right? Like if you were giving me life advice, you would say, hey, George, why don't you improve your accent, right? Just like you gave me advice to read more books, which I think is absolutely good. Advice to play. There's a lot of things I could do to improve my Japanese. Pitch accent's one of maybe 10, honestly. Mm-hmm. On a scale of 1 to 10.
Fair. I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
I think I'll just say, if you make your position after you're around 6 months into Japanese, you have a bit of a foundation, then you should learn the basics of pitch accent. I wouldn't
even say should. I would say maybe. You should consider.
Well, still,
you should be aware of it.
I think, yeah. Well, then I think in that case we're like very close to being on the exact same page right now. At that point, it's just a tiny detail, and maybe you're right. Maybe for a lot of people, that overall would be better. Like I'd be open to talking about the details of that, and I'd also want to talk to more learners about their experience as well.
My driving force is always because I taught live classes, and even at super basic levels, just the order of teaching. If you teach something in the wrong order, people get super frustrated because they haven't learned a concept first, right? I remember, this is a famous example for when I was teaching, but I taught kosoado verbs, or words, right? So I had a lesson, it was like lesson 3. It seemed pretty basic, like kore, sore, are, dore. I was like, okay. And koko, soko, asoko. I taught that all in one lesson. They couldn't do it. They could not do it. They kept messing it up. All I had to do was move the doko, the where words up 4 more lessons to the future in the up in the book to lesson 7, and then no one messed it up. So there's an order to doing things. So I think if I sum this up really cleanly, good to be aware of pitch accent, but I wouldn't even tell them, hey, be aware, because there's a thing that when you teach Japanese, there's a thing that happens, and it's happened in the Korean books when we were writing it, and it happened in the Japanese books. You write a section and you make a perfect grammar section that absolutely nails what they need to know. And then I decide to remove it from the book more times than not, because sometimes just explaining that something exists, they will put too much importance on it and they'll focus on it when it's not a thing. For example, I lie in our book. The very first thing I do is I say there are no verbs, there are no plurals in Japanese. Plurals and singular are the same. But that's not true. I mean, yes, it's true that inu is dog and it's cat, and it's dogs, right? But there is tachi and there is ra, right? Sorera. But if you teach them that in the very beginning, what are they going to do? They're going to try to apply it to things. They're going to say, koppu tachi or computer tachi, but they don't realize that when you put tachi on the end of a noun, you're anamorphized. You're making it more like a human with human, like the koppu tachi ga hanashimashita. The cups then talked. That now is, I forget the word, anamorphizing. Is that the word? You're giving it human characteristics.
Yeah.
So say it again.
Now I lost it.
That should be an easier to say. You humanize them, right? You give them human aspect. But and it's too much in the beginning to give them that. So Later on, yeah, you go, by the way, remember in book 1 I said this? Yeah, I was lying. You could do this. But now they're smart enough to know. So I would say, I wouldn't say in the beginning. I'd say you might be right, but I would say maybe after book 3. When they get to book 4, when they start doing things in book 4, and I'm not trying to sell my books, I'm just explaining my method, right? Book 4 starts teaching things that don't exist in English. Book 1 through 3 is very much like dog is dog, cat is cat, this grammar is this. But when you start talking about kore shika nai, with the exception of this, there is none. We don't do that in English, right? So that's more of a higher level concept. And that's where maybe pitch accent has a role. I do think I would be ignorant. I would be if I say change my mind and then I get all of this great information from you and don't change my mind, I'm being disingenuous. And I don't want to be that. I think we agree pitch accent has a role. Maybe we just slightly off on the timing of it.
Yeah, well, in that case, I mean, I think that's a great place to. I'm totally happy if that's where you land.
That's kind of where I am right now.
Okay, well, I think that's great, and I think it makes sense that I'm going to be a little more extreme. That's kind of my whole. I'm an extreme guy.
Yeah,
of course,
so am I.
Be
that's why I said stupid.
That's why it's gonna be reflected in the way that I teach and stuff. And so,
well, Matt, you're not gonna get anywhere being nice. You're gonna have to fight for where you go, and that's the truth about anything.
Well, I think I've been fighting this whole time.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's a good thing. I would never knock you down. I love you, man. Like, you need to know that I respect you so much. I respect Dogen too. Like, there's something I value more than anything. It's people that are hustling, people that are working to get their thing out there. That's why, as much as I said in my video, I hate everybody, I only hate them because they're competition and I'm on fire. Like, I always want to compete, right? Then I hate when I see someone else doing something good and I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? So I get into that mode. But it doesn't mean I really hate you. It just means competitively I want to destroy.
Oh yeah, I don't get the vibe that you hate me at all.
But the thing I would never do is I would never be disingenuous and say Matt's bad. I would never do anything. I personally don't think it's fair to ever use bad tactics in a competition. The only thing that I would do if I really, really if I felt like I was losing a battle, I would just build a better product and destroy them with that better product. That's what you are doing for yourself, right? You believe you're building a better product for all of your trials and tribulations, for the way that, and kudos to you, man, because you are really good at growing. I've seen a lot of growth in just a couple of years that I've known you. And I do think your channel will definitely be bigger than Japanese from Zero with the growth that you have now. There's no way within like a year or two you won't, or even less, that you won't be bigger. You're going to hit that 100,000. You could even hit 1 million. You're really solid at what you do. And I hope
thank you, man.
Yeah, I hope seriously, and I mean that really genuinely. Like, when I asked everyone to subscribe to your channel, I meant it. Like, there's a lot of value in seeing someone else's opinion. Do not just learn from one teacher. You got to learn from multiple, and just take what works for you. And you're going to hear from me that I don't like pitch accent because I don't think people need to be perfect. That's what you're going to hear from me. Pitch accent. The problem with pitch accent is it puts a lot of focus on being perfect, when language is so not a perfect medium. Even English, we don't speak right. We mess up words all the time. We couldn't even say anthemorthoprize, whatever that word is. We couldn't even say that word, but it was okay, right? We know what it meant because we could work around it. I think that's where I end. That's not where I end, but because I do have like five more questions for you, if that's cool.
Well, thanks so much. I mean, of course, I have a lot of respect for you too, and that's why I'm doing this whole thing. I have a ton of fun. It's always fun talking to you. And,
seriously. And for you guys that don't know, me and Matt talk offline too every now and then. It's not like we're just doing these live streams.
And you'll always be a senpai. In my mind, you're still a senpai, especially when it comes to like running a business and like being a creator. Definitely die senpai.
Well, I'm learning from you too. Just because I did it before you doesn't mean I don't know everything. Trust me. Remember, I was anti-mnemonics. Now I'm pro-mnemonics. So you might see, and it doesn't mean that I'm. I hope people don't take that as a weakness. I think Matt has also shown a lot of change. Like, Matt used to think.
Yeah, I've changed my mind on a lot of things.
Yeah, Matt used to be like, you got to learn all the 2,000 kanji. Now you're like, you want a subset, right? Which I think is fantastic. I learned I+1 from you guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know that concept. And actually, Nuke Marine taught it to me. I said, Nuke Marine, can you explain this I+1 thing? And then we implemented it in book 5, and it was great. What's great about the I+1 concept is I don't have to write every single word in every chapter. I mean, the book is overloaded with words. I was like, let's just get rid of these. The translation's right there. They know everything else. They can figure out what that noun means based on the translation. I+1 is one thing that you don't know plus the things that you do know. right?
Mhm.
I'm not getting that
Yeah,
wrong,
exactly.
right? Yeah, I learned that from you, from what you do. I also wouldn't have
Wow.
read RTK if it wasn't for your video on it. I bought that
Yeah, I
book.
mean, I'm conflicted. I went all the way to the point of not being a fan of RTK now. So now
I get it. I mean, for me, it was just like, oh my God, how many religious things are we going to have in here? And how many things are you not going to give me a decent mnemonic on? You're just going to let me figure it out. So half the book is not showing you the mnemonic, you know?
Yeah, that is. I think that is kind of lazy. Especially he tries to justify it and saying it's like it's for your own good
Yeah,
if
it's
you
for
make it up
yourself.
yourself. But
Yeah. But when he's got those mnemonics where he's like, Job went to the river and in the river there was a spike coming up from, like, what? Who's Job and why? And it's like a whole paragraph.
Yeah. Well, did you ever check out the Kanji Kohi website?
I've heard about the Kanji Kohi website. I've heard
there's a bunch of story. They're like
much more
basically anyone
sexual.
can.
I've heard.
Yeah.
Which is more my
my
style.
Anyone can submit a story, and then you can upvote the stories that are good.
Yeah,
so it's like almost
Mike
like a
told
Reddit
me about
system.
it. Yeah.
So
and
there's lots of good stories.
Someone showed me Wanikani at one point too.
I don't like Wanikani.
You don't like Wanikani? I didn't like that they were making up too much stuff, but a lot of people love Wanikani.
The whole point of RTK is that it's not trying to teach you too much at once. It's teaching you to write like the association between a character and one meaning. It's not worrying about the readings, and it's not even trying to.
I pulled that from my book too. I had multiple meanings at one point. I was like day and sun. I was like, you know what? I like what they're doing there. That's one really good positive about that book. And and that's what Kanji Kohi does too, right?
Kanji Kohi it's based on RTK. It's literally just a collection of user submitted stories for RTK.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like an independent resource.
So you like Kanji Kohi now more than RTK?
No, I actually came up with an entirely new way to learn kanji. That's completely different.
Okay. Is that if they sign up? If they sign up, well, of course you're going to want to tell me. Is that part of Refold?
Yeah, it's part of Refold.
All right, go ahead. Tell me about Refold.
There's a video about it that's up for free on the Refold YouTube, and you could easily. We're selling an Anki deck. It's only $5, but you could easily implement the idea for free if you don't want to pay $5 for our Anki deck.
Okay. And what does it do? It gives you like the most common words or something like that?
Yeah. And but the important thing is the underlying idea. So let me just hide the chat so I can explain this without make sure I don't get distracted. So you know how when you read kanji, you're not really looking at all the little strokes in the kanji, right? You just take it in as one piece.
You recognize it.
I like to use the metaphor of recognizing kanji when you're fluent is like the way you recognize a face. When you see somebody, you instantly know who they are without going, okay, how many millimeters apart of their eyes, how many millimeters out of their face does
it's like that thing where they flip the English letters as long as the back one and the first one and the last one are intact, you can read it. Is it like that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's exactly like that. Yeah. And so I don't know if you've ever noticed this phenomenon, but after a certain point when you're learning kanji, you can pick up new kanji without actually worrying about what all the strokes are. You just kind of see it and you know the parts. Yeah. So you don't even necessarily think about the parts or identify the parts. You just see a new kanji, and then you can maybe there's a new word, and you know the new word's made up of two kanji, and you know one of the kanji, but you don't know the other. You can just accept, okay, this thing here, it's read like X and it means Y, and you just accept it like that. You don't have to come up with a mnemonic. You don't have to when you have a certain base in kanji, that becomes feasible. In fact, pretty easy. And that's how I learned to read most of the words that I know, because I probably can recognize up to like over 4,000 kanji, but most of those I didn't like come up with a story for or break down the words. I just memorized this word is read like this.
That's how I did it also.
Yeah, so I call the point where you can learn new kanji in that way kanji fluency. It's this term I made up. So I like to say the way
it's pretty good marketing right there.
So when you know how when you meet someone for the first time, you instantly remember their face. Like if you meet someone, you shake their hand, you talk to them for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
If you walked by them on the street like 10 days later, you would be like, oh, it's that guy, right? So you learn it just by seeing it. And so once you have kanji fluency, you can learn new kanji just by seeing it. Now you're not going to be able to write it out by hand, but you can recognize it, especially if it's in the context of a word that
well, I think we can agree the writing part's completely outdated nowadays.
Yeah.
Because you could type it.
Yeah. And so basically, my idea is let me get you to kanji fluency as quickly as possible, and then you can actually forget about kanji and just start learning words. Because as long as you learn words, you'll start to, over time, build an intuition for the individual readings and the individual meanings of kanji. But from what I've seen, trying to memorize the individual readings and meanings of kanji out of context is just a very ineffective way to go about becoming
especially when most kanji books in Japan literally put the kanji in order of the readings. So it'll be like an. You're like, what am I doing? All these kanjis have the same readings.
Yeah, it's a really bad way to learn. So basically, I came up with a technique to almost effortlessly get to the point of kanji fluency in a relatively short period of time.
Right,
so
you're using the 555 most commonly frequently used kanji, right?
Well, I'm actually just basing it off words. I basically have an Anki deck.
An Anki deck with the words, and then you'll figure out the kanji based on those words?
Yeah, so basically the idea is there's a kanji, it's a kanji deck that has the most common 1,000 words in Japanese. The deck has 1,000 cards. And on the front of each card, there's the word written in kanji and no furigana or anything. And on the back of the card, you have the reading and the meaning of the word.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the crux here is the style of reviewing. So when you first start learning, like going through this deck, we're assuming you're a beginner of Japanese, kanji are going to look like random mysterious blobs to you, right? You have no ability to really tell them apart. So when you start reviewing the deck, you make an attempt to recall the reading and the meaning, but you only grade your step back to explain it properly. So when you review the deck, you see the word and it's in full kanji. First, you try to recall the reading, and you're probably not going to be able to. So then you can click it and then it will show you the reading. So now you have the kanji and the reading. Then you try to recall the meaning.
So
now
it's
recalling
2
the
steps?
meanings. Yeah, it's 2 steps.
Anki can do 2 steps?
We made the deck so that when you hover over the word with your mouse, the reading pops up.
Okay, so it won't work for mobile then?
It does work for mobile, yeah.
So you have to tap it once and then you tap it twice? Because hover doesn't work in mobile.
Are you sure?
Yes. How do we know that you're hovering? There's no mouse in mobile.
You have to. If you click right on the word, then it pops up. And if you click anywhere outside the word, it shows the back of the card.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, and so basically,
is that I'm sorry, is that a basic function of Anki or is that something that you made? Is that your own app?
It's a basic function of CSS. So
okay, so it's
you don't need any add-on or anything. If you download the deck, it just comes working.
Okay, so hang on. I'm sorry. Your website allows you to use a downloaded Anki deck? Is that what you're saying?
What do you mean our website? Like it's on Patreon. If you sign up to our Patreon,
so you sign up for Patreon, you pay the $5, right? I download the Anki deck, right? Yeah. Where do I open it? In Anki?
In Anki, yeah.
So what do you mean by website? On the Anki's website, you mean?
What website? What did I say?
You said website at one point, so I was confused. So you get the Anki deck. I'm trying to figure out the mechanics of it.
Sorry.
When you're in Anki, the app, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you click the word there, it'll show the reading first, and then if you click anywhere outside, it'll flip to the back of the card.
No, if you hover over it, it shows the reading. The reading pops up right above it, like
there's no hover in mobile. Is the only reason I'm worried about that. So you're saying you
no, but I think you can. Yeah, the way it works a little differently.
Hover is
on mobile.
A mouse function, right? So the
way it works on mobile is you have to just click the word.
So you click the word, okay. And if you're on the website, it would hover.
Yeah. If you're on a desktop or you're on a computer,
the desktop on the Anki website, though, right?
You could do it on the Anki website, or you could use the Anki desktop program.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, that's cool.
And so basically, here it is. So when you're reviewing this, like you said, 2 steps. First, you try to recall the reading, then you look at the reading, then you try to recall the meaning. Now you already have the reading, right? So recalling the meaning is easier. Like, because you could ignore the kanji and just go, okay, it's like maybe it's ie, and you see that, so you're like, okay, it's house, right? And then when you grade the card, you only grade the card based on your ability to recall the meaning. You forget about recalling the reading or not.
Why?
So basically, because the point, this is a subtle point, but it's also kind of genius. So basically, right off the bat, if you were to fail the card every time you couldn't recall the kanji, the deck would be way too hard. Because imagine a very beginner of Japanese, they have no foundation in kanji or Japanese at all. They're trying to just memorize how to read words, even though they've never seen kanji before. Like, it would just be, they'd be failing the same cards over and over and over. It'd be like banging your head against the wall. You know, I call that the brute force method. But it's important that you at least try to recall the kanji. Because if you just had the furigana there from the beginning, you would just ignore the kanji, and then you'd just be going from furigana to meaning, and you would remember.
Have shown if just trying to remember builds a pathway. So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to figure out why is learning the meaning more important than the reading of the kanji?
It's not that it's more important. It's just that remembering the reading is, you have to know both in the end, right? But remembering the reading is easier because anyone off the street, you could be like, hey, remember that tamago means egg. right? Maybe they'd have to repeat it a couple times, but anyone could go, tamago means egg. That's a
Gotcha.
lot easier than saying, see these squiggles? This is red tamago and it means egg, you know? So one of them is just easier to do right off the bat. So,
Right.
and also, if there's a lot of value to knowing that the sound tamago means egg, because then if you're listening to Japanese and it comes up, you can recognize it. So it builds your comprehension of spoken Japanese. And so basically, people go through the deck and they have the experience of, oh, this isn't too hard, because in order to get the card right, all I have to do is go from pronunciation to meaning, right? But they're at least making an attempt every rep to try to recall the reading. And that's why over the course of the deck, all that trying to recall the reading eventually builds their ability. Because, you know, the simple act of trying to do something and then getting immediate feedback, that's deliberate practice. That's like the core mechanism
Scientifically
of
proven.
learning. Yeah. And
How long do you think it takes people to go through your 1,000 card deck?
Well, let's see. So if they did 20 cards a day, then let's see, that would be 1,000. So that would be like a little less than 2 months.
Well, 20 new cards a day, so you're still reviewing every day. You're
and then
adding
you're reviewing. You might have.
So there'll
like,
be a day
you
where
know,
at one point where there's like 1,000 things popping up.
No, I think on average the number. So when you do a consistent number of new cards per day in Anki, the reviews eventually level out.
I see.
And they say, and they level out at generally 7 times the number of new cards. So if you did 20 new cards a day, your reviews would level out at like a little below 150.
Interesting.
Which is still a lot. Like I would encourage people to start off with like 10 a day, and then maybe once they get the hang of it, you can bump it up.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is that when you finish this deck, maybe let's just say really conservative, say it'll take you 3-4 months. You knew all you knew was kana going into this, and then at the end of this, you know the most common 1,000 words in Japanese, and you know how to read them, and you now have the ability to recognize kanji pretty easily. So
pretty solid.
At this point,
like
you can learn new words simply by just accepting that word A
solid.
is red, white, and easy. And you never have to worry about mnemonics or radicals or any of that.
Now, are you integrating pitch into these?
Not at the current point in time.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, what importance do you feel pitch accent is?
There's audio on all the cards, which is nice, but
that is actually nice. I assume in Minami Kanto dialect, Hyojin Go.
Of course.
All right.
Of course.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
But yeah, it's called the JP1K deck.
And they can get that at refold.la. I feel like we're doing a morning show.
Well, it's at patreon.com/refold. But
right.
if you go to refold.la, the Patreon's linked there.
Okay.
And I have a video on it on the if you type in refold to YouTube, there's a refold YouTube channel, and I have a video like explaining everything I just explained basically in detail.
How did you learn pitch accent?
So I learned pitch accent mainly
learn it
through
from?
Japanese
Through
resources.
Okay.
Like,
are there any that was like a book or something that you bought on it, or were you like websites?
Actually, I learned so at first I just typed in like accento, and I just read some random blogs and like Wikipedia, and I learned the very basics from that. Then I found this one PDF that's actually like a academic article that explained some of the more advanced rules, and that's how I learned it. But I wouldn't recommend that. Like later on, I discovered that the NHK Accent Dictionary, which actually have.
Oh yeah, I want to see this. That's cool.
So basically, if you can read Japanese, these two books right here.
Can you
are
hold
by
it up
far
to the
best.
screen how it shows the accent?
So yeah,
Can
here's
you open it up?
NHK. Yeah, and then just to show the cover, here's Shinmeikai.
All right.
So
Do you link these on anywhere where people can easily buy these on Amazon JP?
I don't. I should.
Because you guys can all order from Amazon JP if you're really interested in this. If you really want to have this
but I mean, so first let me actually I wouldn't even necessarily so basically so this is a very fat book, right?
Yeah.
It's a dictionary. The bulk of this is dedicated to the pitch accent of individual words. Let me try to
wait for it to focus. I want to see. Okay, so they put the line to show it going down.
Yeah.
How do you know when one's up and one's down?
So basically everything
Is down.
starts high.
It starts high. Okay.
Let me give you a quick pitch accent lesson.
Wait, so tsukimasu is tsukimasu?
So let me explain one. This was something I didn't go over earlier. You
Okay.
asked about pitch accent has to do with where is the drop. So this is how I would explain pitch accent. Every word in standard Japanese starts high and it either stays high or it drops low. once it drops low, it never goes back up for the duration of that particular word. So that's pitch accent. Now there's one exception, and this is that the first two mora of every word have to be a different pitch.
Oh.
Now what this means, and what this means is that if
it starts high, it's gonna go low and never go back. And if it starts low, it can go high, and if it's Odaka, then it would go back to low. Wait, is that a rule that is never broken? They can never be the same?
If it's the beginning of a phrase, yeah. So let me give you an example. So that's why you were asking about iku.
Yeah, so far
right?
every word in my PowerPoint, you're right. Every word, every one of them changes. That's interesting. And let's see.
Yeah, but this is only at the beginning of a phrase.
Oh, okay. So phrases are different.
So let me give you an example. So
okay.
So if I said let me just think of a word that would make it like extra clear. So I'll just go with this. So for example, if I was gonna say benkyo, that's a heibon word. So it's flat.
Benkyo ga.
Yeah, benkyo ga. So we say it's flat, but it's not actually flat because it starts
Do you know how
low
natural
and
my
goes high.
Japanese didn't sound when I did that? Because I'm thinking too much now. But go ahead.
No, I mean it might not. Actually, it did kind of. It may not sound natural to you,
I
but
felt
if you
more
actually
robotic to me.
Yeah, but if you actually go to like
I don't speak like that.
Well,
anyway, I'm sorry. I don't want to get sidetracked on that. Keep going on this thought.
But
Benkyo
real quick.
Benkyo ga.
Let me just play you. Because actually, when you actually listen to Japanese closely, that's actually like how it's pronounced a lot of the time.
Oh.
You know, it sounds pretty.
Do it again.
Benkyo.
Yeah, benkyo. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Benkyo.
See, it almost does sound a little robotic when you really listen, right?
Well,
and that's a native
yeah,
speaker.
I mean, that's why I always say whenever you're in doubt, just sound robotic. I've said that before, but
yeah. But let me go back to explain.
Yeah, go back. Yeah, I want to hear this part.
So basically,
only
like
in a phrase when it starts with a low, it has to go high. If it starts with a high, it has to go low, right?
Yeah. And so benkyo, so it's gonna go beng, and see how it goes up right at the beginning.
Okay.
So, but if I said Nihongo no benkyo, because benkyo is not the beginning of a phrase, the whole thing is flat. It's not Nihongo no benkyo. It's just
it's
Nihongo
flat
no benkyo.
in the high position.
Yeah. So
it went high. Now, when will it go down? Like Nihongo no benkyo ga daisuki desu. When will it go down?
So in that case, so it's that word never goes down because it's heibon. Heibon's the one pattern that never goes down.
That word okay, but the phrase is heibon then.
So it's heibon
when does it go down
in
that phrase?
It goes down as soon as a word that is not heibon pops up. So what did you say? Nihongo no benkyo ga daisuki desu. So daisuki is a tamadaka, so that's where it would go down.
Daisuki
so it's basically, yeah, Nihongo no benkyo ga daisuki desu.
Nihongo no benkyo ga daisuki desu.
And so that's what I say as a phrase. So when you have any word, so a tamadaka words, they go down right from the beginning, right?
Uh-huh.
Like jinsei. So, or aki. So those words,
wait.
You know the rule.
Yeah, because it's a tamadaka, right.
So
a tamadaka will never go up again. Once it goes down, you're saying it always stays down. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And it drops right after the beginning, right? So you know that rule where I said the first two mora have to be different pitches?
Yes.
It automatically satisfies that every time, right?
You said that was when it's in a phrase. But so far, what you said seems to apply to words too. I don't think there's ever like a reverse where it goes high to low to high. It seems to be that it's either it starts high, goes low, starts low, goes high, or goes low to low, but never high to low to high. Right?
Yeah.
The only weird one in that group is Odaka.
Down.
Or not Odaka, sorry, is Nakadaka. Nakadakagata is always low to high to low.
Yeah,
like
assuming
otoko,
it's the beginning of the phrase,
otoko,
right?
Right.
Like, so for example, nakami is nakadaka. So it goes nakami, low, high, low.
See, I would have said nakami. Did I remember saying that right? Nakami. You're hitting, for me, you're hitting the cow way too hard. Nakami. Nakami ga wakaranai no de. Nakami ga wakaranai no de. Nakami ga wakaranai no de. Alexa, what's the pitch accent of nakami? I'm just kidding. She wouldn't know that.
Hold on. Let me
I don't have an answer for that.
Say it again.
中身
Nakami. Damn, they're hitting that cost so hard. Nakami.
See, when you listen for it, yeah, you don't notice until you actually listen how it
that
sounds.
is really hardcore.
Listen.
Nakami ga.
中身
Do me a favor. Can you put a whole sentence in there? Nakami ga wakaranai no de.
I mean, I can't put it in here, but
I wonder.
Nakami
If,
ga wakaranai
I
no
bet.
de.
I bet Google is pretty good at they because if pitch accent, if they got scientists in there, they're definitely thinking about pitch accent, right? Let's see.
I mean, to a certain degree, yeah. It probably gets some of the advanced rules wrong, but
Let's see here. Nakami ga wakaranai no de. Yamemashita. Kawanakatta.
by the way, there's a really good website for looking up pitch accent.
Oh, not the one I sent.
I don't know which one you sent, but it's probably not this one. I just put it in both chats.
中身がわからないので買わなかったです。
This is actually a really good example for me because I wouldn't be nakami. It's nakami, right?
Yeah, nakami.
I definitely have not been saying that right. I was saying nakami. It
Yeah,
feels
so
the same
nakadaka is
weirdly.
one.
It feels the same weirdly to me, but I know it's not because when I hear it, it's not what I'm imagining it sounds like. Do you see what I'm saying?
Okay, well, what about here's another word that might be surprising to you. What about the word for?
Give me the English only. Don't give me the Japanese.
Yeah, for sugar.
Okay. Oh, God damn it. Hang on. Sato.
So, or put des on it.
Sato desu.
So you said it as if it was heibon. It's actually nakadaka. So sato desu.
Okay, hang on. I'm having too much fun now, man. This is actually good. Let's see. Okay, wait. Listen to this one.
佐藤です。
What's happening
砂
there?
糖
What's happening with that
Sato.
one?
Wait, I can't hear what you just played.
Oh, you can't hear it? Oh, damn it. Okay, well, that's going to be a problem. It's only on the live stream. Wait, maybe no one can hear it.
I can
Hang on. Let me see if... Can you guys hear it in my stream? And where's...
I can listen to the live stream.
Hang on. I don't know if you can. I don't know if it's actually playing... I don't know if I have it set up right. Hang on. Let me check. This is too fun, dude. Okay, hang on.
佐藤です。
Okay, the stream can hear it. Okay,
They can hear it.
yeah. Okay,
Hold on. Let me start. I'm listening to the stream now. So play it again.
All right, hang on. All right, I'm going to play two things.
佐藤です。佐藤です。
Which one is which? Which one is...
Oh, hold on. Sorry, my stream is like lagging. Hold on. Let me like open up the stream.
Okay, I want you to
newly,
listen to
so
this.
it's like this is gonna be fun.
Hang on. Yeah. And nobody knows because I'm not showing it to anybody.
Yeah, you better not, because I'm looking at the stream.
No, I'm not. Okay, you're ready?
Okay, one sec. Wait, not yet. The stream's loading. Okay, I'm listening to the stream now.
I'm going to play three things. Here we go.
Can you play
佐
them one
藤
at
です。
one at a
佐
time?
藤です。佐藤です。佐藤です。佐藤です。佐藤です。佐藤です。佐藤です。
Okay,
Sato
the
desu.
stream is lagging. I just heard it, and I was like talking over you while you played it.
It'll come
So-
up again.
Okay. So the first one is like as if it was Sato-san, like a name.
Good. Nailed it.
The second one was sugar,
Nailed it.
and then the last one it's not a familiar word. It could be
Yeah, I
like,
don't even know if
like,
it's a real word.
like what left turn or
It is. It's
like,
left.
left road.
It's left and then something to do with politics, I believe. Hang on.
Oh, the left party,
yeah.
like
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Hang
the
on.
Liberal Party.
Hang on.
佐藤が大好きです。佐藤が大好きです。佐藤が大好
Oh,
きです。
sorry, I forgot. I have to like update the stream now.
You know what? I think that the left party and the sugar one sound the same to me. Weirdly.
Wait, say that again. I was listening to the stream.
Oh, sorry. I think the one with sugar and the one with left party seem similar.
See, you have to listen to where is the des high or low, like because like
Wait, will the desk change based on the beginning part of the sentence too?
yeah.
What? Really?
No, just here. I'll say the two of them. So this is just the left party one versus sugar, right? Sato desu, sato desu.
Oh no, I was talking,
So-
but the sentence is ga suki desu. I thought you were saying that the desu changes that far
Okay,
away.
okay.
Let me see if the ga is
No,
changing. Hang on.
Never mind. In the sentence, the des would not change. Sorry.
Okay, let's see if the ga is changing here. Let me, because I wasn't listening for the ga change. Hang on.
Yeah. So the ga's either going to be high or low.
All right, hang on.
砂糖が大好きです。砂糖が大好きです。砂糖が大好きです。
Boy, those ga all sound the same to me. Here, let me get rid of the daisuki.
砂糖が砂糖が砂糖が
I can tell you, to me, they sound completely different.
The gas sound different to you?
I mean, the location of them, yeah. The pitch of them.
Hang on, I got. Hang on. Here we go.
But you could, if you spent a little time with it, you could learn to tell them apart.
I do
pretty
think I'd
quickly.
eventually be able to figure it out. Okay, check this
It
out.
wouldn't take you long. It would
Check-
take you like a day.
Check this out.
砂糖の砂糖が砂糖が大好きです。
One second. Even that one was just like brain fuck, mind fuck.
I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't make it illogical. I didn't make it. So logically, you should be able to figure that one out. Ready? I'll play it again. Here it is.
Oh wait, let me go back.
Yeah. No, I'll play it. I'll play it. Don't go back. Three,
okay.
two, one.
Wait, sorry. Let me refresh it.
砂糖の砂糖が砂糖が大好きです。砂糖の砂糖が砂糖が大好きです。
I like halfway. I was following along halfway through, and then
Sato of the left party loves sugar.
yeah, I see. I probably could have guessed just from the grammar.
Oh man, they want to say, did you mean the sugar of the left party likes sugar? They want to change it to that. They don't like the Sato that I'm using. All right, hang on. Let me do another one for you. Oh, that's a bad one. Hang on. I gotta think of another one. Give me a second. I want to come up with one and see if you can tell the difference. This is not a got you or anything like that, because you actually did really well with that last one. You literally nailed that one. So you're definitely one up right now. And let me think of what else. Okay. Oh, this is gonna be too easy for you.
Shout out to Dogan, by the way. Dogan in the chat.
What's up, Dogan? Oh, this is gonna be hard. You ready?
Okay, let's go.
Dude, if you get this. Okay, I have two lined up. Give me a second. Okay, I'm gonna do wa for both of them, okay?
Okay.
Here you go, ready?
この橋は木でできてる。この塔は木でできてる。
Oh my god, it used the wrong. Hang on. I got god dang it. I used the wrong kanji for that. Let me flip it. And did I flip it? And did I put it back? You don't know. You don't know what I just did. Flip it around, Trombley. Here we go. Ready?
この橋は木でできてる。この橋は木でできてる。
Wait, I think the first one was edge, and the second one was bridge. Maybe. Wait.
No. Let me call my wife. Let me see if she can figure it out. Hang on. Call Yukari. Let's just see how important pitch accent is in terms of real usage. Could you hear the difference? All right. Now we're talking. Now we're having fun. For me personally.
Wait.
Well, you already know I was wrong. There's only two options, dude.
No, they're the same. They're the same. I see what you're doing now.
They're not the
both-
same. They're absolutely not the same.
They're not.
No.
Well, this is now is like can Google maybe it's just Google sounds weird.
Oh, you're right. It could be. Okay. But okay, you're right. It's possible. It's possible.
はい、もしもし。
もしもし。あ、
はいはい
ジョージだけど、
はい。
知ってるよね
了解。です
俺の声知ってるもんね。今ライブストリームしてるのね。今その肯定アクセントについての議論してるのね。
はい。
で、今、どうしよう。ちょっと待って、これ。ちょっと待ってね。これ、Bluetooth でつなぎますね。I'm gonna hook her up to Bluetooth and we'll get her on the actual stream. Where is it? Okay. あ、聞こえる？
聞こえる？
はい。じゃあ、今から再生するやつを、違いがわかるかどうか。あ、待って。Let me do the other one first, the sugar one. ちょっと待って。何？
あんまりいい音声じゃないな。
いい音じゃない？
まあ、わかる。いい音声じゃないけど、やってみるけど。
OK。ちょっと待ってね。はい。じゃあ今から2つの文章をもう立て続けに再生するから聞いててね。いくよ。同じ文章で、肯定アクセントの違う言葉を使ってるだけです。いい？
はい。
佐藤が大好きです。佐藤が大好きです。
はい。
はい。最初の文章と2つ目の文章の違いは？
砂糖の発音。
そうそうそう。で、どういう意味なの？最初のやつは。
多分だけど、佐藤は人の名前かな？
どっちのやつ？
佐藤さん、佐藤と砂糖があるのね。
うん。そして、
お砂糖のお砂糖は後の方で、
あ
人の名前の砂糖は、でも砂糖っていうなんだっけ、お米の品種もあるし、ちょっとわかんないな。でも一般的に言う感じだと佐藤首相とかそういう人の名前は最初の方かな。
なるほどね。じゃ
だけど
あ食べるやつの方が2つ目？もう一回再生するね。
佐藤が大好きです。佐藤が大好きです。
どっちが食べる方？
で後からの方だと思う。
ピンポン。じゃあ今また2つの文、ピンポンだよ。すごいできた。彼もできた。私だったら絶対できてなかった。絶対できてなかった。じゃあ行くよ。今度は同じ文章で漢字が違うだけです。いきます。いい？
はい。
この橋は木でできてる。この橋は木でできてる。
もう一回言って。
This one might be wrong. Like Google literally might be wrong. I don't know if that's a thing.
Yeah, it's literally the same sound file. I can guarantee you.
この橋は木でできてる。
Okay, hang on. ちょっと待ってね。
この橋は木でできてる。
日本人 in the
こ
chat
の橋
saying
は
that
木
they
で
sound
で
the
き
same.
てる。
Yeah, they sound the same to
こ
me
の
too.
橋は木でできてる。
They all sound the same to me.
その発音自体
Why
が
don't you use the OJAD site?
Okay. But do they have full sentences or just words?
Yeah, no, they have full sentences.
ちょっと待ってね。Can you tell me the name of the link? I'll just type OJAT, see if it comes up.
No,
OJAT.
here I just sent it to you. I can put it in your chat as well.
That would help. That way I can click it straight without having to.
I just put a link in your chat.
ごめんね。あくびしてて。
はい。
今、ごめんね。これ重要だから、今。議論の。
私には全然重要じゃない。
あなたが重要じゃないのは分かってるんだけども、まあ遊びですよ、これは。完全に。だって、
遊びですよ。
遊びですよ、完全に。
ねえねえ、重要じゃないじゃん。遊びなら重要じゃない。
Your link didn't come up, unfortunately. I don't think it's allowed. Yeah, I don't think I allowed.
I sent it to you on Discord as well.
All right, hang on.
But I know it's harder to click.
Yeah. I just want to show your information weirdly. Give me a second. ちょっとだけ待ってね。本当にちょっとだけ。
はい。でもなんか、その文章はあまり良くないな。もしちゃんとした日本語の発音をやるんだったら。
わかるわかる。Google 使っちゃダメですよね。
機械的でなんか、意味なさないじゃん、トピックと合わなくて。
うん。そうだね。内容がないですもんね。その内容がわからないと難しいですよね。
いや、そう、内容がわかんないじゃなくて、発音自体がおかしいものを例題に出すと、発音で議論する意味ない。
Prosody Tutor Suzuki-kun, whatever that means. Okay, so I typed the whole thing in here and it'll work?
It should, yeah. You have to just click analyze.
Okay. じゃあちょっと待ってね。
はい。
Oh my god, why is
And then
this
you
so
click generate.
Wait, am I showing you again? Did I put you back on screen?
You're not showing me.
Oh, my bad.
You should.
Boom. Okay. All right. Give me a second. It's just hard to type because I typed it wrong so many times.
By the way, guys, sign up to my email list at mattversejapan.com. I'm going to be sending out pitch accent tips in the near future.
And people are saying that you should learn business from me. I think I gotta learn it from you, man. Okay. Okay, here we go.
Hey, just on my end, I have almost 750 active viewers right now.
Oh, you're doing way better than me. I have like under 400.
Well, over 1,000 people total. It's pretty cool.
Okay, so I hit analyze. Is that what I'll do?
And then you click playback, or you click generate first, and then playback.
Generate. Okay, じゃあ行きますよ。いい？
はい。
Oh, I see the difference. That's interesting. Okay.
この橋は木でできてる。この橋は木でできてる。
Wait, did that play both?
なんか同じに聞こえてもう一回やってくれる？
この橋は木でできてる。この橋は木でできてる。
Yeah, I have to hit them both independently. いくね。
You could open in two different tabs.
I don't know if it's playing. Yeah, I just have to hit stop right after. じゃあ今最初のやつは何？これは何？
この橋は木でできてる。
ブリッジの方だと思う。
何の？
橋の方だと。ブリッジの方だと思う。
今英語で言ってる？
うん。
Bridge の方だと
That first
思う。
one is chopsticks.
Okay, so Matt says chopsticks. Yukari says bridge for the first one. じゃあ次のやつね。いくね。
はい。
この橋は木でできてる。
もう一回やって、なんかごめん。続けて。
この橋は木でできてる。この橋は木でできてる。この橋は木でできて
Actually,
る。
maybe that one was chopsticks.
ごめん、わかんない。
Okay.
わかんない。
So Yukari doesn't know which it is.
わかんない。
She thought the first one was bridge. Matt, you thought the first one was chopsticks, but then you got confused on the second one. So now you're debating. So I'll give you another shot. Okay.
Okay, yeah, give me one more shot.
I'm not saying if you're wrong. I'm just saying because you seemed a little bit confused. So here's the first one.
この橋は木でできてる。
Okay. Second one.
この橋は木でできてる。
両方橋にブリッジの方だと。
Okay, so Yukari thinks they're both bridge. And I'm on a website that's specifically designed to do pitch accent properly.
One sec. I was listening to it on the live stream and it's like delayed, so you were just talking while I was here.
Okay, sorry. I'll do it again. First one.
この橋は木でできてる。
Second one.
この橋は木でできてる。
And then don't say anything for a little bit because I'm. But they both sound like chopsticks to me.
Well, they're not. And I'll pull it over to show it to the stream. What I'm playing is this. So, ちょっと待ってね. This is the first one?
No.
And then this is
That's
the second
the same. No, those buttons do the same thing. Those are the same set of buttons on the top and bottom. It's only doing the first one.
Wait, are you sure? Hang on.
この橋は木でできてる。この橋は木でできてる。この橋は木でできてる。
I mean, they do sound the same.
Yeah, no, see, okay.
It's too late
I was-
because it's
Just
too...
put them on the same line. Just put them on the same line.
Okay.
See,
Oh, that
well,
would've
at
been-
least, well, so I got them right. They were chopsticks both times.
Well, but you debated yourself. You were confused.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
I see what you're
because
saying.
didn't think
You're saying-
you put
yeah,
the-
you said
I didn't think
on
you
the
were,
sec-
you were trying to gotcha me with the same one twice.
I wasn't. To me, they sounded different. Honestly, I didn't know.
So wait, when you click generate and you click play, does it not play both sentences in a row?
It did, but it's the same. But it was the same thing. So
Wait, just wait. Play it again.
Wait,
and then
why?
I'll listen
So
to
it's
both.
actually okay. Hang on.
この箸は木でできて
And
る。
then one sec. The chat is
この
lag
箸
or
は木で
the
できて
live
る。
stream.
Oh, you're
lagging,
right.
so-
I do hear it.
この箸は木でできてる。この箸は木でできてる。
They sound the same to me. 同じように聞こえる？両方。
この箸は木でできてる。この箸は木でできてる。
It's not doing it right.
まずね、
Yeah,
チャ
it
ッ
does kind of sound the same.
もう一回言って。
ないからね。
ん？
まず、チャップスティックの方の箸。
Yeah. People, Japanese people in the chat saying they're both chopsticks. They both sound like chopsticks to me.
Okay, let me try to flip the order. See if it's doing it weird.
この箸は木でできてる。
Yeah, it's not doing it right. Well, this website doesn't work too well, does it?
Can we get like an actual Japanese person, like to like say it, like quiz us on it?
Well, you'd have to assume that they were a perfect specimen of pitch accent.
True. Someone from Tokyo.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
なんか、
She's gonna punch you in
Yeah.
the face. She's gonna punch you in your Hannah.
Hey, I knew what you meant because of context. Wow.
なんか、切
何
っていいかな。
切っていいよ。じゃあね。
なんか頑張ってね、自己満のところのような気。
This is what happened the last time she talked to you too. She just wanted to get out of here. じゃあね。Bye bye. My wife, man. She's attuned to my style. All right, I'm gonna play a new one, if you don't mind. Okay. Oh man, I feel like okay, hang on. All right, you ready? I'm seeing if it'll actually do. I'm gonna click generate and see if it plays both because I put different sentences this time on purpose. Okay.
花が大好きです。この花が綺麗です。
They both sounded like nose to me.
They both sounded like nose.
Yeah. But can you play it again?
Yep.
花が大好きです。この花が綺麗です。
Yeah, they do.
I want to point out that the long time in between him listening, it looks like he's like concentrating. He's not. It's because of the delay. So don't think that he's taking forever. He's getting these right away. So, okay, final answer. Was that nose or flower?
I mean, they both sounded like nose to me. There's some people in the chat, some Japanese people in the chat saying the same thing.
Okay, let me play it one final time.
Okay.
Wait, what? Oh, sorry, wrong button.
花が大好きです。この花が綺麗です。
Yeah, I mean, that's what it sounded like to me, but it could be that the robot isn't very good at generating.
Well, on the second time that I just played it, I switched it for the record. It was nose both times. Then I made it flower, but you didn't notice that I flipped it. Just a little bit of a gotcha there. And this is what I'm saying.
Okay.
If I say kono hana ga kirei desu, it doesn't matter how I say it or kirei desu. You're gonna know what it is because the context is gonna override. You're literally like, okay, have you seen that video? The ba. Oh, let me show you. Sorry, this is what it was. This is what I was showing. This was originally it was this. It was it was this, and you correctly identified that they were both no's. Again, 50-50 shot, but I'll say you got it. And then I flipped it to this, and I regenerated. Okay? So there's the regenerated one. And then you thought, okay, it's both no's. Now, there is a video, and I think it's called the, hang on, I'm going to look it up. This is a really, really interesting thing that I think people do not think about when they think about these things. Give me a second. It'll come up. Okay, the McGurk effect. Have you heard of the McGurk effect?
Maybe.
Okay, so watch this.
Am I gonna have to go to the chat to hear it,
No. Oh, probably.
or go to the stream?
Probably, yeah. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna just jump. Okay, let me explain it before I play it, okay? There's a phenomenon called the McGurk effect. Based on what you see, right, the meaning changes. So what this guy's gonna do is he's gonna be saying ba, 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 as far as you know. But his mouth is gonna be saying ba, ba, ba with a B.
Oh, yeah.
Then he's gonna
I've
go
seen this
ba,
before.
ba, ba. Same sound. Depending on what you look, you're gonna hear a va or you're gonna hear a ba, okay?
Ba, ba, ba,
Have a look at this.
ba,
What do you hear?
ba, 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 ba,
But look what happens when we change the picture.
ba, 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 ba.
And yet, the sound hasn't changed.
You have to look, Matt, or the effect doesn't work.
I am looking.
Oh, okay.
In every
I'm looking at the
clip,
the
you
live
are
stream version,
only
because if
ever
I see your
hearing
live
ba
one, then the
with a
sound's
B.
off.
Ba, ba, ba.
It's an illusion known
Yeah, I've
as
seen that
the
before.
McGurk effect.
That is really cool.
Now, so just based on what you see, you hear it differently. Now, I posit to you that even if you have perfect pitch accent, a Japanese will hear you as a foreigner when they look at your face. I do think that will happen. I'm not moving a goalpost. I'm just saying
I think
this
in
is a
some,
fun
I
thing
mean,
to
I
think
think in some
about.
cases, because there's people who are like they're white, but they were born and raised in Japan, and some people still say they don't sound Japanese.
Exactly.
So but that's not the majority of people. That's
Sure, because the majority of people don't have perfect pitch accent.
no.
I remember
I'm
walking
saying-
up to when I was younger.
That's not what I meant. That's not what I
Okay,
meant.
what did you mean? What did you mean?
What I meant is that when you have somebody who was born, a white person who was born and raised in Japan, and they speak literally perfect Japanese, most Japanese people perceive that person as sounding perfect. A minority of Japanese people will try to claim that they still sound like a foreigner anyway.
I'm 100% guilty of this. There are some announcers that I would watch Japanese TV, and then they would show the announcers, and I'm like, what? They're white? And then I hear it. I
mean, I've
absolutely hear it
experienced that as
different.
well.
Yeah, it's so weird.
But part of it is that when you're looking for it, you notice more things than when you're not looking for it.
Yeah. I don't know where to go with that, but I think it's interesting that, you know, there's been times where, and I'm sure you might have had this before when I was younger, and it might have been, maybe my Japanese was nowhere near as good because I was like literally in high school. I would go up and talk to Japanese people and younger people, because I was young at the time too. They don't speak English is what they'll say to you. Like when your Japanese is maybe not as good. I don't know. I mean, I was interpreting already at age 17, so I don't know if that means I was good or bad. It means that I knew enough to interpret. So you go up to somebody and they go, eigo dekinai. I'm speaking Japanese. And there's actually that video, which is funny as hell.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's what
I
that
just
whole
remembered that
was
video.
about.
Yeah. But that literally happened to me in real life. When you would, I used to go up to people in festivals and I would read their name on their badge. It was a thing I used to do. And I would go, oh, Takahashi-san, hisashiburi. Genki datta? And I would hug them, which is of course like super awkward, right? Especially when they're like with their friends and everything like that. So, but sometimes I wouldn't, not that particular experience, because that's more, how do you know my name? Because certainly you couldn't read it. But other times when I would always go up to Japanese people and speak to them. Sometimes you get those people that just don't hear Japanese. So I think that's something to consider. It's kind of just a fun little.
I mean,
part
yeah,
of the
of course,
debate.
our expectations influence our perceptions a lot. That's definitely true. So Japanese people that they have some deep conviction that foreigners could never speak Japanese, they like perceive that to be true, even if counter evidence is loaded in front of their face. That does happen, of course.
I mean, some people believe in the vaccine, some people don't. Right? Some people believe Corona's real. Some people don't.
But
I mean,
I also think that that's going to happen less and less in the next couple decades, because I think the younger generation, they're a lot less racist.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Are you saying that that's a racism thing?
I think yeah, it's implicit racism. Yeah, to just basically have some deep conviction that someone who doesn't look Japanese could not speak good Japanese. I don't think I don't think they have that intent. Like warugi wa nai to omon dakedo. I think yeah, that is a form of like entrained racism.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting how some people, for example, are really offended by the word gaijin. I never was offended by it.
Yeah, me either.
I was just like, yeah,
But
I
it
am
depends
a
on the
foreigner.
context, right? Like if somebody's like, "Kono gaijin ga," like
Kono
"taka ga
gaijin me.
like yeah, then I'd be offended. But that's not just the word; it's the word plus the fact that they are putting into it disparaging.
Yeah, I don't think I'd even be
intention.
offended then. I would just be like, why is this guy mad at me? Like, what did I do to this guy? I would be like, actually, I would be mad. I would be mad at him. Yeah, let me be honest there. I'd be mad.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, of course, I would intellectually know that it's like, well, this guy probably, if I had the same upbringing and genetics as him, I probably would end up being racist as well. So I feel bad that he's stuck being in a racist, mindset.
Yeah.
But it still would be kind of upsetting.
Well, look, let me just make sure I didn't have any important questions. And I think we've killed this topic pretty good, I thought. I'm pretty happy with what we have here.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground for sure.
All right, this is a question from you to me. In what ways do you think I can improve my Japanese teaching?
I mean, to be honest, I haven't spent that much time watching your Japanese teaching videos because by the time I discovered you, I already knew Japanese.
Okay.
So, but Ken Cannon in the chat.
Oh,
What's up, Ken?
Ken, I wanted to bring you on. I thought we should do a part 2 of this where we talk more freely and fun, where we get Dogen in there, we get Ken in there.
Yeah, that'd
Wouldn't that be
sick.
fun? I mean, the major
that'd be
debate is over. I mean, honestly, in the end, me personally, not that I got anything out of you because you didn't change your opinion at all, right? But I'm the one that came in with the super
No.
strong
Actually, no. I did a little bit. I would say
How did you change?
I am gonna walk out of this a little more cautious than I was initially about overwhelming beginners of Japanese. Like,
Yeah, you
I
have
still,
so much going for you, dude. Like you could literally change someone's life super positive with your level. Like you are a god to some people. You know what I mean? Like you are what they strive to be. So there's a lot of responsibility in people idolizing you. And I say that only coming from that exact same, I'm getting hit up hard here. That same experience where people are affected by what I say or what I do. So yeah, I think if you come away thinking, yeah, maybe I should hold back a little bit. Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe I'll put more disclaimers saying like, above all, no matter what I say, if something is making you gonna quit Japanese, then like forget about it.
I love it.
Of course, not quitting is the most important thing. So that's always your top priority. And maybe I should, and I always think that, but I don't think I say that enough. So I think I should, because a lot of times I like to talk about, I'm just due to the way I think, I'm a kind of abstract guy. So I like to think about, in the most ideal circumstances, what is technically the most optimal thing? I like to think about that as a thought exercise, and I think it is useful in many contexts. But of course, when it comes to apply that theory into practice and into actual reality, you always have to take into account that we're not robots, and we have to make it enjoyable. We have to make it realistic for us, and making sure that we're not going to quit and that we're enjoying the process of that always takes priority over something what is like technically optimal in some abstract world.
Love it. And me personally, what I got out of this is, I think you do know your pitch accent very well. I think hearing it from the computer is very difficult. And I also think the way that I made the sentences override with, what's the word I'm looking for here? Context. Sorry. I was thinking of a whole different word. Context, I think it makes it even more difficult. But when you played Nakami for me, that is crazy to me. How different that is in my head, where it was Nakami.
And now you'll probably every time.
Wait,
you
am
hear
I still
Nakami,
saying when I
you'll
say
notice.
I'm still not good at this. Nakami is the right one, right?
Yeah.
Nakami.
Yeah.
And when I say Nakami, what am I saying when I'm saying Nakami? Is that
That's
flat?
a tamadaka.
That's a tamadaka. Nakami.
Nakami.
Nakami. Okay. That particular thing, that's crazy.
Yeah, and
That's
see now you'll
absolutely
probably
crazy.
every time you hear Nakami, you'll
Now I'm
notice,
not gonna.
yeah,
I'm absolutely
it
gonna
really,
change that.
It really is said like that.
That's a word like I literally didn't know I wasn't saying it right Now I'm going to change it, honestly, because you can't ignore what you know, right? Or you're just hypocritical, right? Or you're just, so I learned that from this. Like I'm definitely going to I'm definitely going to think about it from now on. I'll definitely see it. And it'll probably affect my Korean too. It'll make me think, I'll try to apply those same goals in Korean. Like, where are they doing the ups and the downs? Because they definitely do it in Korean too. All right. Oh, is that my last question? That's it.
Oh no, I didn't answer the question. You asked me how I think you could improve your teaching.
My bad. Sorry. Yes, go ahead.
I mean, I think if I was going to say like what's the number one thing, because that's a very different question than how could you improve your Japanese. The number one thing.
Oh,
right?
I didn't need to ask that because I think you have a lot of ideas for that, but they're not things that I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
Probably.
but improving your Japanese.
If you want to answer that one, I would take that too. But
I mean, I would say.
Can I say that what I already know that I need to do based on what you said before? I definitely got to read like 20 books, like you said. I think it's a really good, and that's something that I definitely will not recommend to people. I definitely say you must do that. Try to read 20 books. I've only read like a lot of manga and when I'm doing translation manuals. Reading books, you read way better than me, honestly.
Yeah, that's probably, if you were gonna say how should I improve my Japanese, that's probably the biggest thing that I would say is that like, yeah, it would be good to be able to like read books, like much more important than pitch accent, I think.
You know what's interesting to me? When I started, okay, I'm gonna slight story, very short though. When I started investing, right? At the beginning of Corona, I was always going to invest money in the stock market, right? And I said, the next time it crashes, I'm going to take all the money I have. I'm going to I'm going to put all my money into the market, right? And I did well. And then I started watching, and I started feeling really good about myself, right? I was like, oh man, I'm doing so great. I'm doing great, man. Look at all this money I put in the stock market. And then I started watching YouTubers that do stock markets, like Graham Stephan, and I think it's Graham Stephan. I started watching these guys, and they start showing me their portfolios, and I'm like, holy shit, I am lacking. So I realized all in my own bubble, I definitely think I was doing great. But when you look at the top of the top guys, you're like, okay, I really got to up my game. That's what I think is happening right now. When I was always number one. No, I never met people that were really, really great at Japanese. It's just it's a rarity, right? It's easier now to find online, right? There's a lot of people that really speak Japanese really well. There's a guy on TikTok that's like amazing. I'm like, this guy kills me. He's so good, and you're so good, right? So I say, okay, Matt reads better than me. And now it bugs me. It's like, I can't let Matt be. I mean, it's a friendly competition. Ken Cannon has really great Japanese too, by the way. If you've talked to him, right? Ken Cannon, amazing Japanese. Definitely. So I go, okay, where am I lacking? Reading. Because reading, and when I played those video games and I learned all those new words that all of a sudden pop up freaking everywhere, it's like, how much was I not hearing, right? How much was I just skipping over? And that's how I'm going to change my teaching. And that's how I'm going to improve my Japanese personally. And I learned that starting with you. You opening my eyes on, why would you learn kanji from a guy that says reading Japanese books? And this is an actual quote that I said, reading Japanese books is a pain because you have to look up all the kanji. I'm not going to come away and say that's not the truth. That's absolutely the truth. But if I knew the kanji, I wouldn't have to look them up. I just watched, that game, No Game, No Life.
Yeah.
That anime is so hard, honestly, when I watch it. But when I watch Boku ga Inai Machi, it's so easy. Like level-wise, because it's so fantastic. They're talking about tyranny and everything.
That's because No Game No Life is based on a light novel,
which you probably read.
A lot of, yeah. But light novels, do you know the word chunibyo?
Nope.
So you're embarrassing yourself admitting you don't know what chunibyo means on the chat, but it's basically chuni means.
Oh, you mean on the chat, not me? I'm not embarrassed. I don't know a lot of words.
So so
some type of sickness, but I don't know what.
So chuni is like second year of middle school, right?
Oh, so it's a guy that's into second year junior high school girls?
No. It's basically, the idea is that around when you're the age of your second year of middle school, you get into this phase where you like to be really edgy and you think that you're really cool and badass, but really you're just super cringy. And then later you look back on that realizing, oh God, I was so
that's
cringy.
called chunibyo?
Chunibyo, yeah.
And all Japanese people know this, or younger people at least know this?
Yeah. In fact, all anime fans know this, even if you don't speak Japanese.
Yeah, I definitely don't watch a lot of anime. So the first anime that I watched and binged was Death Note, and the second was literally yesterday. I watched that Boku ga Inai Machi. I never watch anime.
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch anime that much anymore, but of course I've trained myself in a lot of anime. But basically the idea is that light novels tend to be very chunibyo in the sense that the authors are writing to these people who they just use as much big words as possible. They use all these super rare expressions because they think it sounds cool and badass. And I went through a phase where I would read these novels and I was like, this is so badass. I want to talk like this. I want to write like this. And then later on, you start to realize this is kind of cringy. But it is really good for Japanese.
So let me ask you this then, because this is what I was saying to Mike, because we were watching No Life, No Game. He's staying in the house right now. No Game, No Life together. And I was like, dude, I just realized, like for the first time in my life, I realized I don't like this type of anime. It's too hyper. It's so like,
yeah. I mean, I could totally empathize with that.
But you watched Boku ga Inai Machi, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that was perfect for me. That's like, it's, even though it's fantastic and science fiction, they're speaking normal Japanese.
Yeah.
They're having normal conversation. And that's where I feel like I thrive. And so is there a name for that genre? Because that's what I want to find more of. I want to find more real life yet fantastically fun to watch anime versus these cringy, like One Punch Man I go for because that's hilarious, right? One Punch Man, I could watch that. That's hilarious. But
yeah.
Over the top stuff is like, ugh.
I don't know if there's a word for it, but what I've observed is that most anime is actually not an anime original. It has some kind of gensaku, right? It's an adaptation of something, and depending on what it's an adaptation of, that changes it a lot. So you can most of the stuff like No Game, No Life, and all the ones that have a similar feel are generally based on light novels. So you're probably not gonna like any anime based on a light novel.
And how do you define a light novel?
A light novel is let me show you what they look like. It's a lot easier to show rather than tell.
All right. So we're not talking about like a graphic novel, right? I don't think you can hear me right now. You're not talking about a graphic novel, right? That's different.
Yeah, no. This is a light novel. So
can you flip
anime
through
girl on the top.
Mm-hmm.
It's mainly just text.
Wait, are we saying that this is a light novel? I'm just throwing that out there.
That it meets one of the criteria, but it's also like it's all text, and then every once in a while there's a picture. There's some furigana, but not a lot. It's only on words that they would expect like a middle school student to not know.
Right. Okay. And how is that different from a normal, like a shosetsu?
The biggest difference is just the style, like the topic, like it's generally it's like Matt, it's like asking what's the difference between an anime and a drama, a Japanese drama versus an anime.
Okay.
Right. It's like the book form of that.
Okay,
it's like the style of speech there. It's written in this like generally the main characters are always middle school students or high school students. They're generally a guy. The guy generally is an average student with no real specialties, except maybe he's a super otaku that has like infinite knowledge of anime, or maybe he's super good at video games. And then somehow, even though he's kind of like a nerd and maybe not attractive, he gets surrounded by super attractive girls all the time. So, and all the girls have huge breasts, except for the ones that have no breasts because they're like the lolly character. Like they just you just know it when you see it. It's like they say with porn, right? You know it when you see it.
Yeah. That character in Boku ga Inai Machi, there was a boy character named Harumi, I think was his name. Harumi.
It's been a while since I
thought that was a girl.
So.
He kept saying Boku, and I'm like, why is he saying Boku? It's definitely a girl. And turns out he just was like a feminine looking girl.
I see.
Sorry.
Yeah. But I mean, what I would say is you probably are gonna like anime that's based on seinen manga, maybe shonen manga, because there's many different types of manga, right?
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Like seinen manga, that's generally like pretty mature content that's meant for adults, and so if you can find anime based on that,
I'm a huge fan of sci-fi, but I'm not a fan of like magic things, magic and fantasy.
Yeah.
And if it's too like I think you use the right word, cringy. Like so much of the stuff that. I went to Anime Expo like forever, like with our T-shirts and books and whatnot, and it's just like the stuff that people seem to like is so cringy. Like the "Oni-san" type stuff is like
you're making a lot of enemies right now.
Oh, and I get it, but I'm 48, guys. I'm 48, man. I'm not a young guy.
Well, this is actually my theory with anime. So how if you're gonna look at the art, it's very abstract, right? Compared to real life, right? I say the language is abstracted to a similar degree as the art style.
Yeah.
In terms of the way the language is used compared to the way the language is used in real life.
Right.
So the art allows for a certain suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, it's like sci-fi. It's like phasers to stun. There's no such thing as phasers.
Yeah. And so for me, sometimes I can get in the mood and I can enter that world and it doesn't feel so cringy. It kind of feels cool. But then if I'm not in the mood, it just feels cringy. For me.
No Game.
This is
No
what I
Life
said
is-
before. Have you ever seen a nectar cube? where
No.
it's the cube where you can see it two different ways depending on your perspective.
Never heard of that.
Hold on, just
You mean
Google
like
nectar
the blue
cube.
dress or the gold dress thing?
Kind of. Just Google nectar
Nectar
cube.
cube. I never even heard of this concept. Hang on. Nectar
Assuming I'm.
cube. Oh, it's Necker cube, not nectar.
Oh, sorry, Necker cube. My bad.
All right, Necker cube.
So you've seen these before, right? You can see it
oh
either
yeah,
way.
yeah. I've seen these.
So this is how anime in general and anime Japanese
That's
is like
weird.
this. You can see it either way. It can be super cringy or super badass. It all depends on like your perspective. You can like pop into one or the other.
Weird. I'm always seeing these Necker cubes one particular way. Interesting. I'm not seeing it both ways. Yeah, I get you. Like
No, yeah. No, you always see it one way or the other. It's hard. You can. It's
oh,
almost
you don't
impossible to
switch.
see it
It's
both
not
ways.
switch. Oh, I switch.
Yeah. You're in one mode or the other mode.
Okay. When the first two episodes I watched just pure in Japanese of no Game in Life, and I was like, man, this is so hard. Like it only takes a couple words to really mess up what's happening. Then I turned on subs, and I realized like a lot of the words they were like katakana words that I wasn't paying attention to. I was like, okay, not subs. I turned on. Oh, is it subs? Yeah, subtitles. And then I was like, okay, this is actually pretty fun. Once I understood what they were going for, I was so lost in that. I lost a lot of faith
light
in
novels
myself.
like this are like pretty hard. Like there's probably lots of words in here that you've never heard before. And there's lots of words in here that I know because I read this light novel and I memorized the words, but I haven't seen anywhere else.
I said this the other day, but there's a girl, Maddie. She's literally just 19, super young. I thought she was like 26 or something. And she's in our Discord, and she's playing this game from the this Edo themed game. And I'm like, how are you doing that? Like, there's no way. Because I've never, ever been into the Edo stuff. So I never, ever, I'm not into the older Edo period stuff. Like, even in American movies, I'm not into like not time travel, older things. I don't want to look at the 1800s. I'm always like modern. Give me like a comedy or a love story that's in that language. It's more fun for me. But she was nailing it. And she's like, oh, I've done this for like 6 years since she was 13. So she really made me really understand. And I already had known from playing games myself, but games are so valuable to learning Japanese. Super valuable.
Yeah. Well, especially like text heavy games like visual novels and stuff like that.
Like Steins Gate.
Yeah. I mean, I consider visual novels basically a book.
Yeah.
Like they're closer to a book than to your average video game.
Makes sense. A lot of fun. I wish we were paying attention to the stream chat, but phew, good stuff, man. Listening to Matt, he seems like he's gatekeeping fluency. No, he's not. He never said that. Come on, man. Maybe you get that from his videos, but I don't get that. I'm laughing because Matt is so much like my son. Really smart, logical young man. And my teenage daughter is saying I'm a boomer. So, of course, I learn better with George's methods. There's different methods, guys. Matt, I think a combination of both is probably the best. Or a combination of multiple. I mean, I don't know. You can't see all my shelves here, but I have like easily 40 or 50 books teaching Korean.
Yeah, I mean, I would if I was learning Japanese, I'd read everything that was out there.
Is Matt a gamer? Are you a gamer?
Not really.
You did that VR
Never
chat
really
thing,
have
though.
been. Yeah, but I don't play. I mostly played that to make a video about it, to be honest. I don't play it that much.
Kiyomi Nakamura says, I jumped into media only this last year and made the most progress I have in years. Yeah, media is amazing. I don't know if you mean games or not,
that's
but
what I'm all about.
I learned most of my Japanese from watching Japanese TV. I think about it all the time. I watched Attack on Titan. I got through like the 8th episode. I was like, okay, it's fun. I like it, but it wasn't like so much that I binged the rest of it. My daughters can't believe I didn't finish it. My daughters love so much.
Apparently the later seasons get a lot better. I actually haven't seen it. I mean, at some point I'll go back and watch it. But apparently it's like the later seasons that it gets really good.
Historical fiction. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, I don't like historical fiction for the most part. Or historical stuff for sure.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan.
Berserk and Monster are the best anime of all time. Are they, Matt?
I watched Monster. Monster is really good.
Is Monster from
Berserk. I need to.
That game series, Monster?
I don't think it's related. It's about a doctor, actually.
Is it?
It's been a while since I saw it, but it's like this is probably really off because it's been a long time since I saw it, but it's like a doctor saved the life of some like psychopath murderer, and he feels responsible for that. So he's like on this like giant chase to kill the psychopath murderer who's killing all these other people because he feels responsible for all the deaths of the people who he kills.
That sounds fun. I was really enjoying Tokyo Ghoul when I was watching it. I just got busy and stopped watching. That's where the alien takes over his arm. I think that's the one, right? Tokyo Ghoul. Was that the one? Did you watch that one? You're looking at the
Yeah,
comments.
I did.
Is that the one, right? Where
I mean, I liked that one, but it was like not amazing, honestly. It was pretty average.
Some of the dialogue I really liked in that.
I like the opening song.
No way this
The, like,
stream is still
emo-
going. Sorry, I'm just sorry. No way.
Oriental Pearl's in the scream. Shout out to Oriental Pearl.
Oh, Oriental Pearl's here? No way.
Yeah, she was in your chat, I think.
What? I actually know her. I mean, I've seen her on YouTube. She's huge.
Bigger than both of us.
Okay. Ellen Atemi says, well, look at Matt's Japanese, then look at yours. Enough said. If you read the comment by you'll see, I didn't say this because I didn't want to like pull rank or anything like that. She says, in some cases, my Japanese is better than Matt's. Just throwing that out there. So it's different opinion, right? I will say Matt's Japanese is amazing.
In that opinion.
Matt's Japanese is amazing. I would never, ever say anything negative about Matt's Japanese. And I bet it is better than mine. He knows more words than me for sure. This guy reads books. My wife, the reason why my wife is so good at Japanese, she reads books every single day. She's Japanese, but her vocabulary is super high. So, totally. George is a little bit of a boomer. No, I'm not. Shut the fuck up.
Ken Cannon just said, George into anime and pitch accent? Am I dreaming?
That's because, Ken Cannon stayed here in the office for a bit, and we had some debates on that. Ken's a really smooth guy. Ken never fights. Ken just asks questions.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, Ken's awesome.
Games and TV. Books put me to sleep, says Kill Me. I love books. Let's disown George. I'm actually probably seeing more of your stuff than mine. Thanks, Vanessa. I love you too. George, watch Berserk, dude. Okay, is that pretty standard? Did you?
I mean, well, now it's kind of a special time because the author of Berserk just passed away.
Oh, is that on Netflix or what?
It's originally a manga, and the really tragic thing is that the manga wasn't finished, and now like can never really be finished. And there's been multiple anime adaptations, but like I haven't consumed it in any form, but I probably am just going to read the manga because, the original is always best.
Was that just like a few days ago or like last week? I remember there was someone famous.
Yes.
Oh, that's
very
sad.
recent.
Somehow I lost the, there it is. Just look at a few
Thanks
more
for the
comments.
donation, Tenkai Ashcroft.
Not all light novels are harem ecchi, stuff like Maddie presented it, but fair enough, LOL. LMAO.
Yeah, of course I'm given a stereotype. But
Code Geass. I did watch a little bit of that after I watched Death Note. I should have watched more of that.
I actually haven't seen Code Geass. I know it's supposed to be like one of the best anime ever.
Yeah, that's like
so
where
I've been meaning to watch it. I'm going to watch it probably pretty soon.
Was that like England takes over Japan? Was that what that was, or something like that?
Something like that.
Something where England, like the war was different or something like that. I don't remember how it goes. I love this debate. Question: why is the emphasis always on accent in America? Not too many videos out there about writing kanji like a native. Writing kanji like this is the Oriental Pearl question. Writing kanji like a native. This is my opinion, and I'll let Matt give his opinion, obviously. But writing is so not important nowadays, especially if you don't live in Japan. For me, it's more like a parlor trick. Watch me write kanji. Now, that being said, when I learned Chinese, I was always writing everything because I think it's easier to remember that way. But you really don't need it to survive if you're not living in Japan. What do you think, Matt?
I'm pretty much on the same page. I mean, even Japanese people are getting worse and worse at writing things out by hand. Of course, they can write things out by hand just fine. But I mean, I don't see any real reason to do it. Like, everyone speaks Japanese in Japan, and your accent has a lot of implications on how you're perceived and things like that. But like, you can easily get by with never writing anything out by hand. And I also just feel like, in a way, it's not very hard to get good at. Like, if you decided I want to get good at writing up by hand, it's like just a bunch of rote memorization, practicing the same thing over and over. It kind of seems easy if you really wanted to take it there.
That's why I think you're super smart, man. I think no matter what you put your mind to, you will do it. There's a lot of people give up for very, very simple reasons. Like really easy. I mean, I remember being in Korea in Korea, I had a moment where I thought I should just quit this shit. I think I was in my third year and I was in the level 3 class. I was in a private class and I got confused on a topic. And the teacher was already like stressing me out because she wasn't giving me, I was like, wait 1 second, let me translate it. And then she would give you the answer right away. Those teachers that don't want to let you think about it. And then I had this question where I was confused. I was completely misunderstanding something, and I was trying to ask it to her, and she didn't understand the question because I was so wrong. I was so off on the concept that she didn't grasp where I was going. But then the minute that the class ended, she's like, "Bye," and she left, and I was already frustrated, and I didn't get my question answered. And I go to like a cafe after that, and I'm just bawling. I'm like 44, I think, at that time. I'm like, "It's fucking Korean, man. I just want to learn this anymore," you know. And the only thing that saved me was a couple came in that were speaking Korean, and I understood what they were saying. I was like, okay, I'm okay. It's just the teacher was having a bad day. I was having a bad day. Oriental Pearl, I will definitely do a collab with you. That's crazy. Honor. Thank you. I'm honored. Maybe did you do one? Did you do one with her already?
I did a collab.
Dang
and,
it.
yeah, it was cool.
Honestly, I never wanted to do collabs. Honestly, just
Why not?
because I'm weird that way. Because I hated everybody. It's really.
I thought you liked everyone
listen.
that you've talked to.
I'm too. Yeah, I've actually. The weird thing is now that I'm doing it, I love everybody so far, and Misa's probably a really nice person. And well, Misa.
Yeah, someone said that she was in the chat, but I didn't actually see her.
No way, Amo Misa's in the chat. No way.
I just saw the comment Misa's in the chat, but I haven't actually been able to find her post, so I can't confirm.
It's so great that there's so many good YouTube channels now, though, for Japanese, though. It used to be so hard to find anything. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's like, and I think, you were saying how, like, back in the day, you would never find someone who was, like, even close to your Japanese level. And so you get a little complacent. I think that has to do so much with
definitely. No, I agree. I got complacent for sure.
With like human excellence, right? Like for the longest time, people thought it wasn't possible to break the 4-minute mile, right?
Yeah,
and then
that's the common one that they say.
Yeah, now everyone does it, right? So just knowing that there's right? Knowing that there's other people better than you, that it's possible to get way better, that totally changes your outlook.
There was, I think you might have said it, or it was in Remembering the Kanji. I think you might have said this. I think, or it was some video that I saw, and I thought that's really smart. And it was basically goes along these lines. Just because, and it was. I think it was you because you were maybe refuting something that I said. Hey, Japanese take this many years to learn kanji. Why do you think you're gonna? Why do you think you could do it in a year? And I think it was you or somebody else said, why couldn't they? Why couldn't we do it in a different way and learn it in a better way, right? And I was like, yeah, you know what? Why? Yeah, why am I putting a limit on the speed that someone can learn something, right? Because if you're an adult, you have a lot more brain power. You're not a baby. You're not a kid. You're not dealing with growing up and adolescence and all those hormones. You probably could do it faster, right? Especially if you're systematically learning. Especially if you're building beacon sentences and you're learning words that contain the kanji like you're doing in Refold, right? And like we do in Japanese from Zero.
I mean, it's total a fallacy to assume that just because something has been done a certain way for traditionally, that's the best way to do it. Now, a lot of times tradition does have a lot of wisdom in there, and it's tradition for a reason. But other times it's just completely not the case. And as soon as someone comes along with a new idea, then everything just gets way better, right? There's lots of examples of like barbaric things that humans did.
Yeah, well, if we relied on tradition, then and this is me doing a little bit of a punch against Japan, but then we would be like Japanese people when, I think Japan, if I have to sum up the way that they do things is, say, why do you do it this way? Because we've always done it this way. That's Japanese thinking. Whereas America tends to be because it's cheaper and it's faster and it's better, right? So certainly there could be a way to learn kanji better than like I agree with you 100%. That we should focus initially on those first 500, learn the bottom of the pyramid stuff first, right? Which is what we do in grammar. We don't learn all this advanced grammar that you're not going to use in the beginning. We learn all this easy stuff first, and then we tune into the higher level stuff. Whereas when you're learning in Japanese order, you're learning things that are important in Japanese order, right? You're learning things that they have to deal with when that might not be really necessary for you, and certainly not what the overall Japanese people use, on the average, right? If you're not reading newspapers, you're not going to need all of these minutia. But if you're just trying to read manga or play games, me personally, I'm definitely going to need more to play games.
Yeah, well, first of all, we're not a Japanese child who has an underdeveloped brain but is already fluent in the spoken language, right? We're in the opposite position of that when we're trying to learn Japanese as an adult, right? We have a fully developed analytical brain. We don't yet speak any Japanese at all, and so that changes a lot of things. But also, I think that you could introduce a system into Japanese schooling that would make them learn kanji way more efficiently.
Good luck getting them to agree to that.
I mean, yeah, I mean, they still use fax machines, right? I don't actually think that's ever happened.
I think Corona shed a lot of light on how far behind Japan was technology wise.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the fact that everything still had to be stamped with a hanko, the fact that I don't know if they've changed this, but a lot of the complaints that I was reading on the Japanese forums was, why do we have to get a card to allow us to get a vaccine? Because the card was causing issues, and only doctors could give the shots. Whereas America, you already got vaccinated, I'm assuming. Mm-hmm. Did you go to like a gym or a big convention center?
Church.
Yeah, I just went to a convention center. They're like all the army or whoever was students that are learning to become nurses. It's not a hard shot. It's intramuscular. It's not even like you're trying to find a vein. But yet Japanese people are making it so difficult, that only not even 5% of the population has been vaccinated when we're sitting here on, over 50%. It's just a way of thinking.
Do you think that they're gonna change, especially now that there are these these challenges?
I would hope, man. I mean, I want to go. I think if you're like me, you definitely want to get back into Japan. I want to go back to Japan.
I want to go to Japan.
Yeah, I want to go back. I want to travel again. And the reality is it doesn't matter how well America does with the vaccinations if Japan doesn't do well. I mean, we literally just said Americans can't go to Japan. The State Department, I think, said we can't go because they're on high alert. And that's just crazy.
I mean,
will they change?
The vaccine's slowly, getting spread across Japan. Right?
I was listening to NHK Koji Appu, I think was the podcast, and they were saying, in a good scenario, if they could do a million shots a month, and they're not even doing 400,000 a month yet. Or wait, was it a day? I think it was a day. They would get there somewhere around October if they could do a million, but they're not there yet. So I do think they're gonna eventually get there. There's so much pressure on the Olympics. And the population of Japan is like, stop. If you're gonna have 20,000 foreigner or doctors helping with the Olympics, you could put them on giving vaccines. So the one thing they could do to alleviate that is actually get their act together. I think they will. I have that same mug, by the way. It's a great mug.
No way,
dude. You didn't see? Hang on, give me a second. Bring it back. I'm not gonna get the mug. I'm gonna get something else.
Oh. By the way, guys, you can buy this at matt.merch.com. Double-sided mug. Smug Matt, cringe Matt. Double purpose. By the way, guys, sign up to my email list, mattversusjapan.com. I'm going to be sending out pitch accent information that's going to be really useful. And also just cool little tidbits about learning Japanese, maybe learning other languages. And it's totally free. So link in the description. But yeah, it's weird talking about myself now. I mean, normally whenever I stream, I talk about myself. But since I was just having a conversation this whole time, it suddenly feels weird. Okay.
Dude, I missed a huge opportunity. I should have worn my Matt shirt. I don't know where it is. I bought the Matt shirt. It's the funniest damn shirt I've ever seen.
No way.
I bought the shirt and the mug. Go look at your orders.
I've never seen someone wearing it.
Dude, are you kidding me? I wore it on a live stream one day.
Oh, what? Is that still up? Can I see this?
Dude,
how did no one send me this?
Dude, I don't know. But I even so I put it on and I'm like, hey guys, and I hold up the mug and I drink the mug. Dude, I wish I could find a bummed out. Dude, could you imagine if we did this debate where I had that mug and your shirt on? That would have been freaking amazing. I don't know what I was thinking.
Then we would have had to put it in the link, the merch store link.
Dude, seriously, that shirt, where did you get it made? Because it's so cool, dude. It's so funny.
Shout out to Plem. Plem did the design for that shirt. Same guy who designed the Refold website. So very talented.
I love that shirt, man. And because it's all over. Like I love, you can tell by this shirt, like I love full prints. And I think this shirt, tell me if does this have stuff on the back?
No, it doesn't.
Really? Lame.
No.
So most of the shirts that I buy in Japan are like this, because I love this style. And then they go around the whole back. And that shirt being like your face around the entire shirt. It was expensive, but man, worth it. It's so hilarious.
I think it took them a while to design it so that it really worked like that. But dude, I've never seen it on a body.
How many have you sold? Because I definitely bought one. You should check it out. You should check out your orders.
That many. Probably like less than 10.
It's expensive. That's the problem. I think it was like $60 or something like that.
The full print ones are just way more expensive than when it's just one thing on the front.
Yeah, I've got some shirts designed, but I never get around to like actually putting them out. I've got Zero Army shirts, and I made this joke in the Adventures in Asia where I said, did you guys know that just kind of a weird thing that I'm looking at flamingos, and I say, through a mistake of translation, these are actually called penguin. And that's a joke that I made just off the cuff, and people love it. They say it all the time. So I was like, oh, that's a cool shirt. Just have like a flamingo and just says penguin below it. I have all these
yeah.
ideas, and they've been designed by my artist because I have a full-time artist. And then I never actually go get the
if
shirts
you use
done.
Teespring, it's super easy. Like you literally just upload the PNG and then like drag it into the middle of the shirt.
I'm on Teespring. I already have I have like our old designs up there. But I want round the shirts thing. I don't want something just on the front.
In that case, then you have to design it more like particular. Like if you just want one thing at the top, you can just have a flat PNG. If you want it round like the one with my heads all over it, then there's like a special template of like the front template and the back template, and they like have the sleeve and you have to design it specifically for the template.
Well, link me later if you don't mind. That's
okay. Yeah,
something I got to do. I got to get into the merch game, honestly. Forever I had merch because I made this joke about being 7% gay. So forever, like my top item, I don't know why, it's just I wanted it to be something else because that was a weird shirt to be Japanese from zero. I'm 7% gay. It says like, watashi wa 7% gay desu. It was just, so I removed it because I couldn't figure out how to change the order because I'm a boomer. Okay.
Yeah, there's also Refold merch. If you go to the Refold website as well. But
Matt versus Japan. Do an interview with Cure Dolly. That'd be scary.
actually, I have talked to Cure Dolly a little bit.
With the real voice?
She's not. I mean, no, just on chat. Like I joined her Patreon and I had a short conversation with her in the Patreon DMs, and she basically said she never wants to talk to another. She basically said she doesn't even do calls like with like private calls.
I mean, I get that vibe because every video you watch of Cure Dolly is like pretty big. No one ever teaches it properly. This is the right way. They try to confuse you, and she's pretty anti.
That's honestly my biggest. That's pretty much my biggest complaint is that like I haven't watched that much of her content because if you've seen her,
it's too freaky to watch for me.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to consume.
In Japanese.
But a lot of people say that her grammar guide is like very helpful.
From what I've seen her talking about in the videos, everyone I've watched, I'm like, this is really well thought out. Cure Dolly does have like, it's not BS. I do believe that.
Like just from the number of people who have really positive things to say about her grammar guide, I'm sure it's really good.
The only reason that she hasn't exploded is that voice is just too creepy. No one respectfully is going to learn with that.
Weird 3D avatar thing. It's very
it's creepy.
But I was going to say my biggest complaint, I mean, of course I don't like those things, but my biggest criticism is how she's constantly like railing on this point about how hers is magical, new and awesome and revolutionary and everyone else sucks and is confusing. It's like, okay, maybe you could say that once, maybe twice, but it's like constantly she's just
anyone that says, listen, I'm the only guy that can do XXX. That is always wrong, right? You can't.
Even if it's true, it's still just annoying and off-putting.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be a little bit
it's probably not
humble
true.
or, pardon me?
And it's probably not true if you're saying that you're the best.
Yeah, you're just a little bit narcissistic at that point.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Okay, I got a super chat question from Panda Peace. What level can you reach, B1, B2, C1, in 1 year if you studied 8 hours every day for Chinese, Korean, or Japanese? Let's say you have a super motivated person. I would say realistically, 1 year, probably B2 is probably the upper limit of what you can get to for a language like Japanese, Chinese, or Korean, assuming that you don't have a background in any Asian language like that.
I want to add to that answer. I think it depends on how many Japanese people you're interacting with. If you're just studying on your own, you're not going to get anywhere near the brain chemical reactions that you need. You got to be in a situation where you absolutely need to be speaking it. I've traveled to Japan with so many people that were studying for years, or at least a year in my classes, and we would travel to Japan. The change in their mindset and the change in their level after coming back, after being in Japan, is crazy, because your brain's like, oh, this is a real thing. It's not just something I'm looking at in a book. So you have to interact with way more people, I would say. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, I think the most important thing is just constantly exposing yourself to real Japanese and making an effort to understand it. I think most people who just study, they study textbooks and they watch like Japanese Pod 101 videos or whatever, but they don't actually spend a lot of hours listening to the real language.
Wait, is that girl? Oh, Risa. Risa's super cute though, so I get that. I get why you would watch Japanese Pod 101. Her little cutesy little things that she does. Come on.
Oh, of course, why they hired her.
I know, it's genius, man.
Speaking of which, I went to your channel the other day and I saw you had a video on the Tay form. Very cute girl in the thumbnail.
Yes.
Clicked on the video just because I wanted to see the cute girl, and she was nowhere to be found.
Marketing. So my channel gets maybe 2% of people watching the videos, right? In that initial burst, right? And I'm like, okay, obviously I'm not appealing visually, right? There's something wrong with like whatever my thumbnail is, because all my thumbnails are me, right? So I've been exploring using those. It's been a little bit better.
Oh yeah, it's been helping.
Yeah, but it's not. Yeah, it's.
But it's a double-edged sword because you get them the first time, maybe the second time, but then once they learn that it's like this girl's really cute, but what's waiting for me?
That's only for the people that are there for cute girls, right? If they're there for language and they click it, and there's like an extra incentive to click the girl, this is my thought. Then maybe they'll be recommended a video once that really catches them. Maybe they'll watch just for a second to see if that girl comes in, and they'll say, "Oh, this guy, he's kind of interesting. He's teaching Japanese, and I'm getting it." That's what I'm hoping for.
Come for the cute girl, stay for the George.
That's what I'm hoping.
Stay for the Japanese.
That's what I'm hoping. You want to know something interesting? When I first saw Misa, she had like 3,000 subscribers, and I was like, I need to hire this girl because she's really good. But I didn't. For me personally, it was like, maybe her voice though. I wasn't into her voice, and that's what stopped me. But I think I made a mistake because she's so big now, right? She just kept going. She's really aggressive. She's
probably
amazing.
People love her voice. It's
people love her voice.
A little bit anime-esque, very kawaii.
Yeah. And I saw Japanese Miku too when she was really small. I was like,
actually, I heard you mentioning her the other day. I actually
she's
don't know who that
fantastic. I love Japanese Miku. And
actually, I have seen her. Actually, I have seen her. Yeah, just like 1 or 2 videos though.
Yeah, it wasn't until I watched her video on Okage-sama De that I knew what it meant. I always use it. I know that it's because of you, but I didn't realize it came from something else. I didn't know where it came from, and when I watched that, I was like, oh, that's.
What did it come from?
So it basically, it's like I'm getting by from some reason, whatever. Like it's just happening, and it came from something with ninjas or something like that, or some sort of older. I forgot what it was. Honestly, I don't remember anymore. But I just remember now. I don't feel weird saying it. I used to make this joke like Okage-sama De. Like why did they say Okage-sama De? You didn't do it for me. Right?
Yeah, I think that every time.
I just
thought that was just like a Japanese thing of like.
Yeah, it's like really, thanks to you. It's like thanks. It's more like thanks to the universe or something like that. It's a whole different thing.
Oh, okay.
Watch that video.
That up.
I won't do it justice, and I certainly don't remember it. It was like about a few months or at least maybe even a year ago that I saw it. But when I saw that, I fell in love with her because she's so genuine to me. Like I absolutely think, and I was right. Like, even then I was like, oh, I should probably hire this girl. But I was like, no, I'm okay. It's hard for me to hire someone to do the Japanese stuff because I'm already doing it, right? But yeah, she's fantastic.
I mean, you're hiring her for double purpose, right?
Yeah.
For the Japanese and because
she's so good at what she does.
Pleasant to look at.
Miku, I would say, okay, this is not a character thing, but I think thumbnail wise, definitely Misa beats Miku. But Miku, personality wise, for me personally,
I mean, we're gonna get in trouble if we talk about this.
No, I mean, I'm saying thumbnail wise.
Wait, what's her channel name?
Thumbnail game, like
Misa
Misa destroys the thumbnail game. I think you should just look up real Japanese Miku. She's amazing.
I mean, I think she's very attractive, but
they're both attractive.
Misa has like.
I think Misa's got the more Japanese look that people are thinking of. Like you could make Misa into an anime, legit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she does have some pretty killer thumbnails for sure.
Yeah, her thumbnail game's on target. It's on fleek.
But yeah, I feel like this is.
But you're definitely more handsome than me. So like if we're going to be honest, we have to talk about guys too in the handsome area, right? You've got a really good look. You know what I mean? You look a very like intellectually like smart and cool. If we're comparing you against Dogen, you destroy Dogen. Dogen just looks like
really.
Yeah. You're.
I mean,
I'm not saying he's ugly. I'm just saying you're more handsome than Dogen. If we're talking about looks,
I think Dogen's.
I'm not saying he's not handsome. I'm saying you beat him in the looks. Also, you're younger than him.
I can't say. I mean, I can't. Objectively, it's really hard to tell like how you look because you've been like staring at yourself in the mirror like every day. So
I mean, PewDiePie destroys both you guys, but that guy is like uber handsome. If we're talking about.
I mean, like when I was in school, I don't think I was ever like. I don't think people thought I was that good looking. Like that's never the vibe I got from my surroundings.
I'm pretty sure I peaked in high school for looks.
maybe I'm peaking now.
Panda Peace, thank you for the super chat. What would you consider a polyglot? A person who speaks 20?
Wait, is that my chat or your chat?
This is mine.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm seeing it. Unless you
I've
gave
been
it to
thinking
both
this
of
was
you.
my chat the whole time.
I'm only
you're
looking
right,
at
it's
my
not
chat
my
right
chat.
now.
Oh, so that means that
Every
that
other
means
one
that
but
the-
Panda Piece is you. Trust me. I've only gotten two super chats.
Oh.
It's both from Panda
Okay, well
Piece.
that means that the $50 super chat from Will came to me. Dope. Thanks, Will.
Yeah,
But,
dude. No, I only get that when they're feeling sorry for when I had counterfeit books. Most people don't do super chats for me because most of them.
Oh, Will says the refold shirts are super comfortable. Get your shirts at refold.la and send Matt Matt to
Dude,
Japan.
they are comfortable.
And send Matt to Japan for some.
Dude, they're soft. They're like. You have one, right? Did you buy one?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, they're soft, man. They're like stretchy.
Yeah,
they're totally
yeah,
awesome,
no.
dude.
I mean, for the refold ones, Ethan like went out of his way to make sure that the shirts were super comfortable. He like tried a bunch of them before he settled on
I
the
love
one that
them.
we went with. So.
All right, he's asking this question to me, but I think it's more of a question for you. What would you consider a polyglot? A person who speaks 20 at an A2 level, or someone who speaks 3 at a C1 level, can be both considered a polyglot. What do you think?
I mean, for me, I think like this is kind of similar to the question, what does fluency mean? And my biggest sentiment is it's just a word, so who cares? Like what I care about is the reality. Like we could say what is more impressive, what is more like useful, what is more worth aspiring to. But if we just have some arbitrary word that everyone has a different interpretation,
Well, let's define it.
It's like
let's define it. I think fluency is if I go to that country, I can say pretty much what I want to say.
Well, wait, but I mean, we can talk about that. But
Okay.
do you want to actually try to answer his question first?
Well-
Because he's asking what is a polyglot.
But you brought up the word fluency, so I'm going back
Yeah.
to that, right? So, for example, I'm fluent in Japanese, and I consider myself fluent in Korean, right? Even though my Korean level is nowhere near my Japanese level,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm definitely not fluent in Chinese because I would be lost too many times, right? So
Yeah.
now I don't know the A2 C1 levels because I don't follow that. I think that's like a
I
European
mean, I
standard,
think
right?
roughly B2 would be fluent on the European scale, European framework.
I think if you can say what you want to say for the most part, three languages is totally polyglot. Also, it's like, what are you aspiring to, right?
Yeah, I mean, I
That's a
think
personal-
3 is probably the bare minimum to be a polyglot. But at the same time, if someone speaks 3 languages and they're going around saying polyglot blows the minds of whatever in their YouTube
Yeah, and they
titles,
only
I'm
know
gonna,
like basic shit. That's so common. Like,
Yeah.
they're like "Bienvenidos," like okay, yeah, and then like "Yokoso," and then they speak Japanese like really crappily. No, that's not polyglot.
I mean, I mean, even if they spoke 3 languages really well, then I would still be like polyglot. How about trilingual? Like, you know, it's it still feels like
what
a little
about
bit.
4?
like,
Would you
for my
call that
mind,
quadlingual?
If what? Yeah.
Quadlingual is that what you
Quad-
call it? And then pentalingual.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I think pentalingual is when you could start being you could start saying polyglot, and I wouldn't
Damn.
kind of internally frown at you.
Should I rename my
saying
channel
that.
Polyglot George to something else? Trilingual George.
Oh, I always interpreted that as aspiring to be a polyglot.
It totally
George,
is.
Not,
Totally is.
Not currently polyglot George.
Okay. I don't really
You talk
stuff
about
on that
studying languages, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah, because that's what I'm doing. Like I'm studying languages on that channel. It's definitely aspirational.
So that's that. I kind of was cut the interpretation.
No one
that way.
should subscribe there because I don't update that channel ever.
Actually, I think some of your videos on that channel were the ones I enjoyed watching the most. Well, actually, this is just, I don't know. I have a feeling I'm not the only one who feels this way, but a lot of times when I have a creator I like, I prefer their like second channel content to their main channel content because I like pretty much getting the kind of uncensored, uncut version where they're just hanging out and being more chill. I like prefer that type of content to the like super high edited content. The other thing is when someone has a super high production value edited video, I feel like I need to sit down and like watch it and like pay full attention to it, and that almost like raises the bar for consuming it. It's almost
I don't
like
know. All your
harder.
stuff seems pretty well produced, though.
Well, yeah, I know. So I mean, if I
Whereas
was a viewer
I'm
of
like,
mine,
just whatever, dude.
well, that's why I actually think like I do for Patreon, I do Q&A videos where it's just like half an hour to an hour long of me answering questions, and there's
cool.
no cuts.
And
And I
what's
think
your
a lot of people. Go ahead.
what's your Patreon link?
Patreon.com/refold. It's only
What?
$5 a month to get probably over 100 hours of Q&A content now. But I think some people prefer the Q&A content because I'm just like speaking off the cuff, stream of consciousness. I go into as much detail as I want, and it's pretty casual. I think some people probably prefer that to my like highly edited, tight videos on my main channel.
Dude, Debbie Doe's easily giving you a few $100s this particular stream. He's promoting the. Do you know this guy? Is this the guy that works with you? Will?
No, but he's probably like the #1 supporter of
loves you.
Refold. Like he's he's awesome. Like he also supports us really strongly on the Patreon. So I'm not sure what his background is, but he seems pretty comfortable, and Reeful definitely we highly appreciate the support.
Oh wait, you know, I might have been seeing
Very
it.
grateful.
I might have been too up high in the chat. I think that might have been the older one.
I think that was the one I was talking about.
You know what's weird is that it shows that my chat revenue is like 146, but I only see two chat. I only see two of them, so I don't know. I must have missed somebody in my own chat. I feel bad about that. I hit refresh to see if no. Sorry about that, guys. If I missed it, it's not showing up in the viewer activity. It might be the way that we're streaming it. Well, anyway, look, I think we're going on too long. I think we've gone on long enough. Like it was like 3 hours, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
How long have we been going at this point?
3 hours and 14 minutes.
Damn, I like got really tired and then I like hit a second wind.
I mean, I don't mind if we want to read more. I mean, I think I definitely want to do this again. You know, after I've had more time to look at pitch accent nakami. You know what I'm saying? I want to look at the nakami of the pitch accent and see, hey, can I actually, you know, improve my Japanese too? I'm not going to devote a ton of time to it because I'm very busy doing all billions of things.
Don't do it. That's like if you only do, I would encourage you to do it a little bit at a time.
今スナッグボーイが終わる前に日本語で話してくださいと2人で。この前道元とやった時もやりましたよね。
全然いいよ。
だから日本語で話した方がいいんじゃないかなっていう。
全然いいよ。タメ口でいい？
いいよ、もちろん普通で。
まあ言っとくけど今結構眠いからね。
眠いんだ。
本調子じゃないからね。
眠いのね。でもあそこも9時半でしょ
？9時半。
うん。何時に起きたの今
日？7時半ぐらいかな。
朝の？
うん。
それは眠いわ。
うん。今日結構忙しかったんだよ。
うん。今日何したの？このライブストリーミング。
今日は、そうだね。俺コンサルやってるんだよね。
コンサル？
最近コンソルコンソルかな。まあ英語でコンサルテーションって言ってるんだけど、まあ相談、要は相談。
何の相談？日本語の相談？
そうそう、日本語の勉強の。まあ実際人生相談してもらってもいいんだけど、大体日本語の勉強とか、まあ日本語だけじゃないんだけど。
それ何？ペイトリオンとかで？
いや、ただ普通に、
わかるわかる。
メールで、そういうリクエストが来れば、
依頼が来るのね、質問が来るのね。
1時間ぐらいの、いつもやってて。1
時間？
だからそれ
何？お金払ってんの？
払ってもらってる。
いくらですか？ 1 時間。ちなみに。
1時間120ドル。
おお。それで自分の収入の何%ぐらいになってるのかな？
どうだろうね。まあ、3分の1。
まあこれはちょっとプライベートの話になるけども。
いかないぐらいかな。
何？ 3分の 1？
3分の1かそれ以下かな。
なるほど。
まあ、どんぐらいの頻度でやるかは結構、バラバラだったりするんだよね。
もしも結構ね、直接教えてほしい人からの依頼が来るんだけども、やりたくないんだよね。1対1は、
いや、俺別に、
1対1はね、
直接、
たまにはやるんだけども、それは自分の、今ちょっとやりたいなと思ったら、ディスコードで話したり、チャットで話したりするんだけども、なかなかね、お金もらってやりたくはない。
なんで？
昔、授業やった時に、4人から10人ぐらいの授業やってたんだけども、たまにはさ、生徒が休んで、1人だけ1対1になった時に、辛いわ。1対1は辛い。質問とか答えるんだったらいいんだけども、日本語を教える時のプレッシャーがかかる。で、その人ができない場合、私もすごいつまらなくなってくる。
そっか。
すごい優秀な人だったらいいんだけども、
なるほどね。
大体ね、ほとんどの場合はできない人がやりたいじゃないですか。
なるほどね。でも別に日本語を教えてるわけじゃないんだよね。
誰が？
日本語の勉強の仕方について。
だよね。
そ
れが私とあなたの大きい違いだと思うの。あなたは勉強の仕方を教えていて、私が日本語を教えてるから、それが違うんだよね。一人から今質問が来てたんだけども、マットとコンサルティングがしたい場合はどうするんですか？どこで？
メールをしてください。Matt vs Japan っていうメアドにそのメールいただければ。
フルで言ってください。
そう、Matt mattversejapan@gmail.com. Sorry. MATTVS。
で、ペイパルかなんかで払うの？
うん、そう。
これ先払いですよね。
もちろん。
で、それは何？ディスコードでやる？それともスカイプとか？
そう、ディスコードでやる場合もあるし、ズームとかスカイプでも、まあ、その向こうにとって一番便利なプラットフォームで。
あれでやろうと思ったことないの？iTalki とか。
ね、先生役
で。日本語直接教えようと思ったことない？
ないね。だって、別に、僕だって日本語を教えてもらったことないし、自分で独学で日本語を覚えた人だから。
じゃあ、マットの場合は、授業を受けたり、先生探したりするのがいいと思ってないですか？進めてない？
悪いとは思ってないんだけど、自分のスタイルじゃないなっていう、自分の流儀ではないなっていう感じ。
私の場合だと、もちろん多分混ざってると思うのね、やり方が。私は授業が大好きなのね。韓国行って、そのアカデミー行って、1ヶ月ずっと朝から朝2、3回授業やって、もうすごい楽しくてしょうがない。先生も1対1でやるのもすごい大好きで、独学はね、もう疲れるんですよ。
ジョージってエクストロバートだよね。
そう。
そう、俺イントロバートだから。
なるほどね。
やっぱり自分のペースでやりたいし、自分でいろいろ、もうそういう管理もしたい。自分の学習の。
なるほどね。ね、内弁慶となんだっけ？エクストロバート。
内向的
と外交的だ。外交的な。でもよく YouTube やってるよね、それだったらね。
でも YouTube はさ、自分の部屋で一人で撮影してるわけじゃないですか。
でも私がやってる場合はいつも大勢が見てるっていうイメージにしちゃうのね。あなたはじゃあ誰もいないっていうイメージでやってる？それともあなたが1対1で喋ってる気持ちでやってるんですか？
どうだろうね。結構独り言を言ってるその感じでやってるかも。
私はいつも少なくても何十人は今聞いてると。で、いつもなぜか視聴者がすごい若い気がするのね。あなたの場合は多分すごいできてる人と喋ってる気じゃないかな。やり方でやってるんじゃないかな。
そうだね。
私結構ビギナーがやってるんじゃないかなという意識でやってるのね。
なるほどね。また実際そうだろうしね。
実際ディスコードで話したりする人がめっちゃベーシックな質問が多いから。
なるほどね。実はそれがコンサルをやるのが好きな理由の一つなんだよね。その人に合わせて説明できる。いろいろこっちから質問していけば、どんぐらいの頭の回転の速さなのかも大体わかるし、だからその人に合わせて説明を変えたりとかできて、だからあとその人の顔見てさ、ちゃんと今のそういうアーハーモーメントとかあったらさ、すぐ顔に出るし、だからそういう説明して向こうが分かったかもみたいな顔をして喜んだ風になったら、こっちも嬉しいし、で何みたいな顔してたら、じゃあちょっともう一回説明しようかみたいな風に自分で調節できたりとか、だから結構好きなんだよね。
結構リピーターとかいるんですか？何回も。
そうだね。結構多分3人3人に1人ぐらいかな。
でそれ年齢が大体何歳ぐらいなの？
いや結構バラバラだよね。やっぱり20代前半から普通に50代とかの人も。
すごいね。
だってさ、結構値段はさそんな安くないわけじゃん。
お金がないとできないですもんね。
そうだから金持ってる人が多いんだよね。若い場合は大体プログラマーとかが多いんだけど、
でプログラマーって何？日本で働きたいとか？日本ですでに働いてるとか？
どうだね。いや大体なんとなくアニメが好きだったりとか。
なるほど。私もね、日本語を初めて教えた時には絶対ビジネスやってる人だと思ったのね、すべて。すぐ分かったのはそれじゃない。
多分バブル時代とかそう。
いや、そうじゃなかった。いや、バブル時代じゃないし。何歳だと思ってるの？バブル時代また高校生だったもん。
そうっすか。
アメリカに帰ってきて何歳だったかな？何年？20年も教えてるんだけども、20年前はアメリカのビジネスやってる人が 日本語を勉強すると思って、そのために最初レッスン書き始めたけども、
おー
実際授業始めると、これアニメが好き、ドラゴンボールが好き、ポケモンが好き、
うんうん
それが多かったんだよね。
そうだよね
そればっかりだったんだよ、
うん
どっちかというと。
そうなんだよね。まあ、実際ね、ビジネスとかだったらもう今頃、
会ったことないもん。ビジネスでやりた
い
い人は会ったことない。多分ビジネスでやろうと思ったら、まずやれないと
中国
思う。
語でしょ
いや、
うん。
言語っていうより、いや、やれないと思うんですよね。
まあそうだよね。
ビジネスのためにやるのはものすごい情熱が足りない。
そうだよね。多分ドイツ語とかだったらまだいけるかもしれないんだけど、日本語は、まあ、やっぱりそういう目的でやるには難しすぎる。
何その言語の難易度に関して
うんうんうん。そう。
そうだね。
だってさ、日本語に比べたらさ、正直、その英語できるだったら、ドイツ語とかフランス語の方が
そう思うでしょ。でもドイ
ツ
ツ語を勉強し始まったら、ものすごい難しい。私的には。日本語が動詞が最後に来るとか、女性用語とか男性用語に分かれてなくて、あれは大変だったの。今でもまだちゃんと把握できてないの。なんだっけ、マスキュリン、フェミニンによっては、その、日本語でどうやって言うのかな、オスメスというのかな、なんて言うんだろう、日本語で。とりあえず女性の言葉、男性言葉に合わせて動詞も変わる。ほんで、複数とかになったら、それも言葉が変わる。あれはね、その概念が日本語とか韓国語とか中国語にはないから、逆に難しかった、私にとっては。
まあ、勉強したことないから何とも言えないんだけど。
マットが韓国語やったらすぐ話せるようになる。
まあ、いつかはやりたいと思ってる。
もうね、韓国語の 50% 必要な情報も頭にも入ってる。
まあ、確かに結構
助詞の使い方、
似てる
文系とか全部似てる。90% ぐらい。
そうだよね。でも発音が難しいんでしょ？
発音が難しい。その、日本語がすごい綺麗にあ、い、う、え、おがあって、韓国語が微妙なあ、お、あ、この中間のやつがあるの。オプソよ。オプソよ。オプソよ間違えて、オプソよって言ったらダメだし、アプサよって言ったらダメだけども、その中間ぐらい、あれが難しい。で、あれをちゃんと言わないと韓国人も理解できない。
確かにちょっと難しそうなんだけど、いつかはやりたいと思ってる。
男性名詞、女性名詞だそうです。正山さん。ありがとう、正山さん。Do you know Masayama-san? He's in every one of my live streams. He's amazing.
Oh, another donation from Will. What's up, Will? You're the best.
Hey, Will.
Oh yeah, David asked
hang on. Just to point out, Will gave me one too. Thank you, Will.
Oh, so you see, that's how generous he is.
Eric99 says he's sorry about your counterfeit stream super chat. Says hello from Tokyo. I don't even know what that means. Counterfeit stream super chat.
So maybe the stream when you're talking about dealing with the counterfeit books.
Oh, okay. But I don't know. Counterfeit stream super chat. I don't know why it's a super chat, but I'm not sure.
Maybe he sent you a super chat and then his credit card got declined and it didn't go through.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't pay attention to that sort of thing.
Weird. I don't even know if that's possible.
Yeah, can you do? Oh, maybe he made it look like a super chat somehow. I don't know how you could do that. Yeah. Jordan says, and everyone thinks this is an insult, which is so funny. Joji Nihongo Jozu. Arigatou gozaimasu.
上手だね。
上手だね。Alright.
普段からどんぐらい日本語喋るの？
僕ですか？もう、だって奥さん英語喋れないからね。だから毎日ですよ。
じゃあ、奥さん以外の人と
奥さんが、うちのスタッフも日本人もいるし、かなこ先生と。
じゃあ結構普段からもう普通に日本語。
うちの娘たちだって日本語話せるから、外にいる
時は日本語で話したりするの？
日本語で話すよ。でもうちの娘たちは結構関西弁になってるんだよね。なぜか奥さんが僕と喋るときは標準語だけども、娘たちとはなぜか要はなんかその親関係があるからなぜか関西弁になるのね。
でもそれがまあいわゆる母国語でしょ？関西弁が。
そう。
じゃあなんでジョージと話すときは使わないの？
それ多分会った時じゃないかな。なんかあるじゃん。人と付き合うときにその最初に喋る言葉が、
定着しちゃって。
そう、定着しちゃう。だからなかなか変わらないんだよね。私の友達で日本で会った韓国人と結婚したんだけども、 最初に定着した言葉が日本語だったけども、彼が韓国語を話せるようになってから韓国語に切り替わったの。それ初めて見たんだよね。あれはびっくりした。なかなかない。だから我々は標準語で喋るっていう決まりっていうか。
なんか関西弁で喋ってくれって頼んでみる。
いや、関西弁で喋る時もある。特に私が関西弁 from zero をやった時から関西弁に切り替わったことが多い。あと、
面白いね。
私の方から始まれば彼女は関西弁で返すけども、よく、なんつうの、しゃんないとか、言葉によっては絶対知らないよってじゃなくて、しゃんない、そんなしゃんないとか言うのは奥さん。ものによって違う。でも、奥さんとの会話がもう普通の人と違うからね。例えば、家に帰って、ゆかりん、かかパカカパカパカって言っただけでもう、お腹空いてるんだね。分かった、作って何欲しいとか、
確かにそういうの
何言っても理解してくれるの、奥さん。あなたも結婚したら分かると思うんだけど。あなたの彼女と可愛い言葉ないんですか？そういう可愛い言葉で喋ったりしないんですか？
でもうちの彼女とは結構あるかもしれない。
なんか外でそういうなんか見られると恥ずかしい。
そう、絶対見られたくないような。確かに。それあるね。結構うちの彼女もその千葉出身なんだけど、だからまあバリバリの標準語なんだけど、たまに関西弁っぽい喋り方するんだよね。
するの？
ちょこちょこ。
なんでだろう？
そう、なんか、なんだろう。せやねんとか。
せやねん。
そう、
そんなんちゃうで。
なぜかわかんないんだけど。
アホかお前は。しばくぞ。
そんなこと言わないんだけど。
言わないと思うよ。It's elongated. 言いたくない。しゃんない。しゃんない。They like to elongate it. When I first married, when I was getting married to my wife, when I was trying to marry my wife, I went to Japan, and her parents were against the marriage, and for multiple reasons. Number one, she's like 8 years older than me, and I was like 23. I was like 3 years younger than you, and they're like, "You can't marry this guy." And I was a tour guide, so for them, that's like mizu-shobai. It's this unstable job, right? And so I went over there, and the mother was against it, and we went over to her uncle's house. Super Kansai guy, and the mom, we were going back and forth, and he was just kind of like this, like sitting there just like kind of watching it, like like trying to get a feel. And the mother's like, "Uchi no ko wa ichido no nido no chance ga nai kara na." Like, you know, my daughter doesn't have a second chance. And I said, "Okasa no kanaekata dattara ichido no chance mo nai kamoshirenai." Is what I said to her, because she's already 30, my wife, you know. It's like, you know, with mom's thinking, you know, maybe she only has one chance. And then it was kind of like a pause in the discussion, and this the uncle, he's like, "Shanai, shanai," and I was like, "Dude, best thing ever," because that was like the breaking of the ice. It was like, can't be helped. What are you gonna do? You know, shikatanai. And yeah,
and that's how they accepted you.
They didn't accept. I don't know if they've ever accepted me. The mother, I mean, they obviously accepted. They give us a big bundle of money at one point to buy a house and everything like that. So at that point, they probably accepted us. 4 years in, when we had kids, that's when they were like okay with it. You know, have you met her? You haven't been to Japan yet, so you haven't met her parents or anything.
No, but she's coming to visit me in August. I mean, assuming that Corona doesn't let.
Be careful, because she might not be able to get back. You got to be really careful. I read one story where one Japanese girl, like actual native Japanese citizen, did 3 PCR tests to be safe when she went back, and they didn't like any of the shoshiki, the formatting, so they didn't let her in. They sent her back to America.
I see.
So you just,
well, I mean, if she's not able to get a vaccine before she comes, she'll be able to get one here. So
true.
Maybe that would. I mean,
hey,
there's no guarantee.
Worst
that would
case,
change
she gets to
anything.
stay with you for a long time.
Yeah. So I mean,
right?
I'd be fine with it. But yeah, like apparently, like she didn't tell her dad that basically that we were dating until she had to say like, "I'm gonna go to America," and apparently her dad was like really shocked that it was like, because she didn't even know she had a boyfriend. She was like, "You have a boyfriend, and it's an American guy."
Yeah, it's the worst. Is she the only daughter?
She has an older brother and a little sister.
Okay, so it's not as bad then, because they still have other they've got insurance. Like, you know, if the younger daughter then marries a foreigner, oh my God, because then she's gonna probably move to America, you know. So yeah, it's a little bit shocking.
Yeah,
but they're gonna like you. I mean, you speak
was,
Japanese.
Like, about that.
You speak Japanese. It's gonna be
I mean, I want to talk to them. I think maybe before she comes, we'll like FaceTime or something. Go be like, "Your musume safe with me."
The irony would be they're like, "Your pitch accent's so too good, man. I don't know if we can trust you."
This is suspicious. Are you sure you're a gaijin?
Are you? I don't know if I like you, man. You're making me feel inferior. You know?
I don't know what you are. I don't know what category to put you in my mind.
Maybe you're an alien and you've mastered computers well enough to figure out what we speak.
Yeah, so it's probably going to be his first assumption.
But she's coming by herself. You're not going to go meet her parents yet. So
Yeah, not yet.
Yeah.
I paid for a plane ticket, but
what was weird, like when they first sent me over, this was the weirdest thing, and I don't think this would ever happen in America, but they don't want me to marry the daughter, right? The father he was totally cool, but the mother didn't want it. She was very strong. But yet they're like, yeah, you could stay in our house. Like, I mean, I get in one sense, I'm like, okay, they don't want me to be alone with their daughter in a hotel, maybe. But would you let the guy stay in the house that you didn't want to marry your daughter? I don't know.
no, I would try to get him out of the picture as soon as possible.
Exactly. You wouldn't make it easier for him, but
Yeah, it's weird.
yeah. Well, I mean, I told my wife early on, like, I was like, man, because I knew Japanese parents. I knew they were going to probably be against it just because age difference and all that stuff. But it's like, this is our life. And when your parents are gone, they're still alive though, crazily. They're like 90 something. They're like machines. When they're gone, it's going to be you that lives with the regret. So I would say that same advice to you, man. It's like, even if the parents are against it, they'll probably get over it soon enough.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's probably a pretty American way of thinking, and I totally feel the same way. I'm like, oh, it's our life. It's not your parents' lives.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think the other kind of thing though is that I don't have like a normal job, so I think that also might be.
You have something way better than a normal job, dude.
I mean, I know, but are they
You're
gonna
already?
understand
I promise you, making more money than a normal guy. And
well,
you're
I know, but are they gonna understand that, or is it just gonna seem like I'm some weird, like shady figure who's like stealing money from people?
You show
on the
them
internet,
your
some
almost
scam.
100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and you show them your business model if they need to see it. But you know, no one does better than I do, right? In my circle.
Well, yeah, I'm sure.
Right. And even Ken Cannon, right? Ken Cannon does really well, right? And you don't even hear about Ken Cannon most of the time, right? He's not like on YouTube like we are. So there's a lot of upside in this business, and you're an up and comer. You're like you're going to be so much better than ever getting a job. So don't ever think you need to get a job to fake looking like you got a job.
I would never do that.
That's like a nightmare scenario, man.
Yeah,
you're doing the right
no,
thing.
I would never do that. I couldn't get a normal job.
Dude, neither can I. Neither could I.
Yeah, it's too late for that. That ship has sailed. But
you can just tell them, hey, I'm a consultant teacher. They're not going to ask you what's your revenue.
I mean,
anyway.
I think it's cool. You have a textbook. That's like something. I think books are something that everyone can see and recognize. Oh, this is like official.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
You
have a service though. You know what I mean? And they understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, they have websites in Japan. They should be able to understand that. How they can't be that old.
Yeah. I think they're like same, probably like late 50s.
Yeah, you could just show them your, look at 100. First of all, YouTuber is not considered bad. Like when I do YouTube,
is it? Are you sure?
When I'm in Japan.
Sorry, my headphones just disconnected.
Oh, yeah, we've gone on too long for your headphones.
I thought I could put away one.
I think you can. It has to be the other one. Try the other one.
Oh, well, now I hear you. I feel like I'm just gonna not mess with it now because I can.
Yeah. When I was doing Adventures in Asia filming, like everyone loves YouTubers. Oh, YouTuber, YouTuber. They freaking love you. It's weird.
I know kids do, but parents going to?
Oh, okay, good point. Kids do. Yeah, it's all kids. Now that I think about it, it's all kids. But I literally would walk around with a YouTube tag on. I figured out midway I realized if it just says YouTube on here, they're gonna let us do more. And it was right. They let us do more because of that. We weren't as suspicious.
I think it's changing. But like, did you hear there was like a survey they did on elementary school students, like naritai shokugyo,
YouTuber,
like
right?
1, 2, 3, and like dai-san, it was like yakyū senshu, sakkā senshu, YouTuber.
Yeah, it's because of like Hikakin, Seikin, Hajime Shacho.
Yeah,
These guys are uber popular in Japan. Hey, it's better than saying you're on TikTok, right? YouTube is the more legit now. Like in Japan.
Well, yeah, sure. Yeah,
TikTok's
I guess it
too
automatically is like shokaku bumped up because of TikTok.
You should do TikTok too, by the way.
I mean, I know I should, but I'm still.
I mean, I'm just recycling videos, and I have almost 16,000 subscribers there.
I should probably like hire someone to like turn my videos into TikTok things for me.
That's what I do.
How'd you find your guy? How do you like? What's a good way to like find people?
People find me. So and I know they're already finding you. You're just probably not recognizing it. The people that I hire so far, coincidentally, are all people that I ignored initially, and then they just keep coming back. They keep coming back, and every one of them did work for me before I hired them. Like one guy, my main artist, he found me on my Tissue Box channel, which is my 600 subscriber. I sometimes do poetry channel. It's so bad, right? But he said, I binged everyone. They're so awesome. They're not awesome, trust me. But he's now hired as our full-time artist, and he's also our web UI UX guy. You know, Mike.
So I guess you just got to give people a shot.
Yeah, Mike won a video contest. If you do contests, you'll find a lot of talent in contests too. I wasn't looking for anybody, but this guy won the video contest, and I was like, can you edit videos? Like, yeah. I mean, he didn't know much about video editing, but he won the contest, right? So yeah, just be open for it. Just be ready, but don't say yes to everybody. Make sure that they prove who they are, because there's a lot of people that really want to help, and they really, really mean it from their heart. The minute you give them work, they cannot do it. You need to only hire talent.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Don't rush to do it though.
Well, anyway, we should probably end the stream before my ears run out of battery. My headphones run out of battery.
Before I explode from having to go to the bathroom.
But
right, guys.
yeah, it's been awesome.
It has been, man. I always enjoy talking to you.
Yeah, I feel like we definitely bonded.
Yeah.
Even more than we already had.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think it's healthy to go have a back and forth. There's no way we would have agreed from the very beginning. You know, it's healthy. I think we both came away with something new, and hopefully that's respect for both of us also.
Yeah,
I won't 100%. Say pitch accent stupid anymore.
I'm glad, and I'm gonna be more cautious about overwhelming people, and also thanks so much to everyone who sent a super chat. You guys are amazing.
And thanks for you guys on my end too. And let's all do this again sometime. This time maybe we'll bring Dogen or someone in. And definitely Oriental Pearl. If you can contact me on I'll just give you my email, george@yesjapan.com. George, if you're still watching. GEORGE@yesjapan.com. Or hit me up on Discord if you can find me. Peace out. Thanks guys.
Peace out. I think you need to stop the stream.
I will. I'll eventually find out how to do that. All right, guys. See you later. Bye.
Later, guys.